Welcome to Newport. The New York Yacht Club puts on such a great regatta.
It looks like this year is going to be probably one of the most competitive editions of this regatta, so we're excited. So it's going to be competitive, and there's a lot of great sailors at this event, and that's why we're excited to be here.
Enjoy the Corinthian spirit that is the cornerstone of this event.
We're really looking forward to a great week.
Day 3 of the 2021 Rolex New York Yacht Club Invitational Cup was do or die for San Diego Yacht Club. After a second place finish in 2019, skipper Tyler Sinks and crew came to Newport with their eyes on the top step of the podium. Through 6 races, however, they have failed to rediscover the mojo that had them in spades 2 years ago. That all changed today when a beautiful pin-end start in the day's final race led to the first true horizon job win of the regatta and launched San Diego Yacht Club's climb to the leaderboard. The second and final race of the day proved more difficult as the fleet battled through a dying and shifty breeze. Initially, New York Yacht Club led around the first 2 laps, but a significant left-hand shift on the second upwind leg shuffled the fleet. San Diego, who was split from New York Yacht Club to chase down the new breeze, ripped the race win from their grasp.
And then today we kind of got back in the groove and put ourselves in some good spots, and kudos to our tactician. Jake Liddell sailed really well and had a good game plan for the team.
But the main story of the day was the comeback by Southern Yacht Club in the second and final race of the day. A foul on the approach to the first windward mark landed the regatta leader deep in the fleet, and it appeared that the overall lead might be up for grabs. Skipper John Lovell and the Southern Yacht Club team worked the boat hard through the awkward seas, hit the left side, and ended up in 4th.
I think it was just early on in the race. We were lucky it happened on the first beat, and we just kind of settled in, tried to get our boat going fast again. It was physically challenging as well. You know, we tried to, whenever we were tacking and it was a little bit less pressure coming out of the tack, we tried to roll the boat. Even though it's a big boat, you know, we're kind of sailing it like a dinghy.
With 3 days and 8 races complete, Southern Yacht Club leads the fleet by an impressive 13 points. Royal Thames Yacht Club hangs on to 2nd place, now 2 points ahead of Royal Cork Yacht Club in 3rd. Also in contention for the podium are San Diego Yacht Club in 4th, New York Yacht Club in 5th, and Eastern Yacht Club in 6th. The 2021 Rolex New York Yacht Club Invitational Cup is brought to you by title sponsor, Rolex. Regatta sponsors, Hammett's Hotel and Helly Hansen. Supplier, Team 1 Newport. And hosted by the New York Yacht Club. Hello and welcome back to our coverage of the 2021 Rolex New York Yacht Club Invitational Cup here in Newport, Rhode Island. I'm Tucker Thompson along with Andy Green here in the studio, and we have a very special guest joining us today, the sailing journalist from the New York Times, Chris Muessler. Chris, great to have you with us, particularly when it comes to the Invitational Cup. your perspective, because the audience has listened to me all week, they've listened to Andy, but as a journalist and a sailor, I want to know what you think of the Invitational Cup.
Well, thanks for having me. It's awesome to hear your commentary and see Katie out on the water, but for me, I know everyone here are champions. And so even though there are people that are out of touch with the lead in this, what I'm really looking for is to see where that excellence shows up in their skill sets. So some teams may not have as much experience in the boats, but at some moment, I'm looking for these moments where we shouldn't be surprised when a team that's been in double digits the whole time just crushes it, whether it be in the shifty conditions or finds a different mode downwind, because they're all champions. So I'm looking for those moments where we shouldn't be surprised when a back of the pack team pokes forward. That's what I'm looking for.
Certainly keeps us guessing as viewers. And speaking of the action, Andy, and this has been a high-scoring regatta. Bring us up to speed on the scores so far. We're about to start race number 9.
Well, there was all sorts going on yesterday, incident and accident around the course, but the Southern Yacht Club were the people that played their get-out-of-jail-free card in the last race. They got a 2-turn penalty, and they were down in 16th place. They managed to bring it back, and they end up leading overnight again on 28 points, 13 points ahead of the Royal Thames. But it's worth remembering that San Diego Yacht Club, who sit in 4th place, got a 12-point gap moved up. So only a 13-point difference between Royal Thames and Southern, and that is crucial. Another point you were talking about, high-scoring regatta. Well, the history of these numbers are in 2019, last time, 4.6 was the average winning score for each race. When the Southern won, interestingly, in 2017, they just needed 2.8. So they had a very good regatta in 2017. Wow. 15 was 5.9. 13 was 4.5, 11 4.3, and the 4th place average. At the moment, the average for Southern is 3.5 points, so they've done very well, looking consistent. But as we saw from San Diego yesterday, it is easy to turn around a 13-point lead, and that is currently what Southern Yacht Club hold over the Brits from the Royal Thames Yacht Club.
And of course, what does that mean with no throwouts? Every race, every mark rounding, every shift counts. Speaking of the racing, let's go out on the water. Andy, new course today.
Yeah, we are just to windward is Gould Island. That is the old naval base where they tested the submarine. I'm going to say, I want to say tornadoes. It's not tornadoes, it's torpedoes.
There you go.
There we go. Finally get the word in with 2 minutes and 10 to go. So the breeze from the north, it's very flat water, northeast 040, very flat water, an incoming tide. So the tide will be taking the boats across the racecourse area Romeo, and we're between Connecticut Island, Gould Island, and Newport Aquidneck Island. That is the race area. You can go and look on track, and we've got an inbound tide building throughout the day until around 5 o'clock. We're on board here with San Diego Yacht Club. Tyler Sinks there helming. They did such a great job.
2 bullets
wins
in one day. I don't think in the history of the regatta that we've had, I could be wrong, but I don't know that any team has done 2 bullets. Have they in one day?
I don't think
we'll get
so.
back to you on that.
Yes, Stato says, well, one of the best.
So Chris, one of the things that we've got here, sorry Andy, is track. I want to bring all the viewers up to speed, and you as well. Not only can we see the live action here on the water and in the drone, but we can follow them, and you can follow as well on Facebook and YouTube and tracktrack.com. You can watch the GPS tracks of all the boats. Andy, the clock is ticking down. All the boats already on starboard. They look very early in the breeze, a little bit lighter.
Yeah, it is lighter with 50 seconds to go. We've got around 10 to 12 knots of breeze, and now we've got we're in the final countdown. We're not exactly sure on the time, but we'll get that to you in a second. I believe it's around 30 seconds to go as they come towards the starting line. 2 boats on the leeward side, just pushing down towards less than 20 seconds to go now. Final throws in. This is within 10 seconds. It's all about putting the bow down. It's all about accelerating. It's all about getting clear air and fast boat speed as the boats head to the line. Here we go for the final run in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and just 2 boats in the middle of the line, looking very tight indeed.
They look close to being over.
General recall, I think we've got here, Tucker. That is the word that we're getting from the race committee, general recall.
Everybody jumped the gun. And Andy, the Newport Bridge in the background, the tide is starting to come in, which helps push the fleet over the line.
Absolutely. We talked about the tide. It's running at about 0.4, 0.5 of a knot, so around, a 6-7% of upwind boat speed, but that is directly up the race course. So that encourages the boats over the line. I think we'll probably see a U flag on the next, which is you get a disqualification if you're over within 1 minute between the start, the pin, and the windward mark. So it'll make the next start very tricky.
Interesting to point out here, Andy. Yesterday, San Diego Yacht Club, Tyler Sinks at the helm, won both pin and starts and converted those to wins. There he is at the bottom of the screen. San Diego won the pin in this start as well. And in the interview afterwards, they said they want a free bow, an open bow. They want to be able to put the bow down with no one to lure it and let the boat rip. And that seems to be what these IC-37s like.
Yeah, that's right. And here we go. Now they're just all going back towards the line. And it's an interesting moment just to be able to chew over how that start went, where you could have done a little better, and decide on strategy for this next race.
This might be a good time to bring in the fourth member of our broadcast team, Katie Nastro, live out on the water. Katie, as you know, obviously we're in a general recall. Are you seeing tide out there? Is that why the fleet, with so many boats, were over early?
Hi, Tucker. Yes, I would in fact put my money on the tide just being a huge factor, that the teams really, they thought about coming out here, they did their pre-race homework, but until you get on that line amongst all the other boats and you're all in a lineup, you really can't tell, what this current is really doing and how much it's going to affect you. So I think they all really anticipated it wouldn't be as much as it is. So and everybody's excited to stay forward. We're coming down to the end of the regatta. I think everybody's just looking to get racing.
Yeah, actually, Katie, you bring up a very good point, Andy. We are getting to the business end of this regatta. Only technically four races left on. So you can. I should say that the mistakes are going to be more and more costly as each of these races tick down.
Well, Chris, you're very cerebral about this. We've got the leading team of Southern Yacht Club. Now we've got potential if you are disqualified, if you're over the line. What are they thinking about in terms of risk management? If you don't start very well, that's bad. But if you're over the line, you get disqualified, and they are the ones at highest risk, right?
Absolutely. It's really difficult in a fleet like this where all the boats are tuned about the same. They go almost exactly the same speed. There's no major advantages on the starting line except for placement. Right. So, and the fleets are really close. Looking at that starting line, there was no midline sag. Everyone was pushing line a little bit too much in that case. And so I think in terms of the risk for Southern, what Johnny Lovell is thinking about with his team is that when you look at the starting scenario and all these boats are piled so tightly together, you can either look at it as an impossible equation, like all these potholes, or you can look at it as an opportunity to find the right spot and be able to take advantage of it when it comes up. And I think the challenge for that team is to not necessarily think about their position in the race, and not look at it as this impossible thing fraught with potholes, and just be very calm and pay attention for the opportunities. All they need is just a simple hole. And sometimes they're not they're not easy to find, but they have to shift from making this look like an impossible situation to looking for the possibilities.
Now, you've interviewed so many famous and wonderful sailors. These guys, Corinthian or amateur, the emotion's still the same, though, heart rate, nerves. Talk to us about that.
I think it's fascinating to watch, and this is what I'm kind of really been observing in your coverage and your interviews, is I'm fascinated to see the professionalism on these teams. That, everyone here has a day job, and that's probably not in the sailing industry. So somehow they've squeezed in their training, and it actually is a tougher equation for them than professional sailors. They have to get into some kind of routine where everyone knows their position and they go into a rhythm. And there was it Hoth yesterday that you guys had a camera on?
Hoth.
And I watched the offside trimmer. It was a blonde-haired woman who was down to lure it out of the tacks. Yeah. And every footstep was identical every single time. And so I think, when we talk about watching professionals, somehow these teams figured out a way to very efficiently get everyone positioned to be very routine and be very consistent. So I don't see actually a ton of daylight between these guys and like a TP52 team.
It's interesting that you
gals.
have analyzed it like that, Chris, and I agree with you. These are amateur teams. In many cases, some of them have never sailed the IC-37 before, and I want to point out, not only does the New York Yacht Club do an amazing job on and off the water as a regatta host, but they also provide practice races and coaching, a clinic basically, to get the new teams up to speed. Very few regattas that I know go to that level, and that evens the playing field out.
Okay, I think we're in sequence here. We're just keeping our eyes on. We're on board with Eastern Yacht Club right now. Looking like we're in sequence. We can see the pin end now. We're looking south towards Newport, towards the Newport Bridge there. That Jamestown, the Pell Bridge, it's called, after the famous politician.
Just now that we're in sequence, we've got about 4 minutes to go. I want to bring both of you guys up to speed on another unique part of this regatta. You might want to start writing in your notes. I noticed all these notes going on here for your article. Last night, there was a lobster bake here at the New York Yacht Club. And one team, well, I'll say who it was Hoth, went up on stage and asked for everybody's attention. And they grabbed the microphone and started singing Molly Malone. Well, that started a chain reaction. And every team, one after the other, came up on stage, the whole team. The Argentinian team sang something in Spanish, and everybody followed along. By the end of the night, I can't remember if it was Sweet Caroline or what was it, Andy? I was telling you earlier, but the music came out. The whole place was standing and cheering and singing. Well, you don't get that at most regattas. It was a really cool thing to see.
Yeah, and that's something that I'm really glad you brought that up, because we're used to really high stakes regattas, and this is a high stakes regatta. But with a lot of professionals, you don't really hang out. You're really more about rest and recovery. Yeah. And even though these teams sail at a really professional level, it's rare that we go to an event. I know this from the British American Cup with the Royal Thames and Sewanaka, and that
the BA Cup,
yeah, the British American Cup. That it's just what a unique thing that we can all relax and at least hang out and have fun with each other and let the results shake out on the race course. That's actually really rare, and to make it an international event without the pressure of an Olympics or a World Championships, even though this is at that level, is really awesome. That's a lot of fun.
Last night you could still tell everyone was still having a holiday. They were on vacation, despite it being high-end, brilliant racing.
Well, speaking of high-end racing, we're back in the sequence. Apologies that we don't have the exact time up, but you can tell by looking at it that most of the fleet has gone from port to starboard, so they're on their final starboard approach to the line. Conditions exactly the same. Andy, I didn't see if the H flag was up.
U flag is up.
Sorry, was it up?
U flag is up.
Oh boy, okay, that's going to raise the stakes.
With the tide under us, it is going to be all on, and the boat's now 1:14 to go.
No, 1:14 is the start time, so we're under a minute right now.
Thank you.
Katie's out there. Katie, have you got your watch? How much time do we have?
Yes, we are on that final minute, and honestly, I think everybody is just being super cautious with that U flag up. Nobody wants that added to their score, so keep your eyes out. I'm really curious to see how this start is going to play out.
Okay, here we go. Andy, Chris, Katie, everybody watching. Race number 9, this time with the penalty of being disqualified if you're over early. There's the gun, it looks like. What's going on here? Eastern Yacht Club just luffing up a little bit, so that's not the gun.
No, not quite yet. We've got Royal Canadian Yacht Club, Terry McLaughlin taking his usual place down at the pin.
Yep.
Very nicely spread out towards the pin end, much more difficult towards the windward end. And within that windward end, we've got a whole bunch of boats, including New York Yacht Club, Southern Yacht Club, just to windward of American in that bunch on the windward side.
There's the start.
There we go. There's the gun. Very good. Clear start there. Woo! 2 excellent starts from Eastern and New York, and Hoth at the windward end. New York did a very good job at the windward end, getting off the line.
And here's Royal Canadian.
Yep, very
pin
good.
end. Terry McLaughlin likes that. So is San Diego Yacht Club down at the pin. No surprise. Royal Cork as well. Andy, there's a big crowd of boats towards the second or the weather half of that line, and the closer these boats get, the more they slow each other down.
Royal Thames having to bail out there. Not a good start from them, but New York Yacht Club looking good.
On board with San Diego, Tyler Sinks and crew, living off of the hip of Royal Canadian Yacht Club, 2-time winner of this regatta.
I think you'll see with I think you'll see with the race course now in the upper bay as opposed to out in the ocean that you were yesterday, even though it was a little bit offshore breezes yesterday, this is a totally different environment. And if you're going to see any changes in terms of people bumping around, bumping up or bumping down, I think you'll see it on a day like today. I've done a lot of championships, as we all have here in the upper bay, in this piece of water. And as they get to the top of the race course, you have two different currents colliding at the top. And on here, you have land that's becoming a part of the issue too. So these breezes are going to be really unstable for the rest of this race course, especially as you go up.
San Diego Yacht Club, Drew Frida's there on the mainsail. They're in a very thin lane going towards the Jamestown shore. That's not the best place to be going. Not as much tide there, and they're really struggling to get the boat speed out there. Tyler Sinks did not make the best of that start after 2 bullets yesterday. It often happens when the boats come onto the racecourse. They take that little bit of risk away. They have a little more to lose, and that's what's happening here. They're looking for a way to get out, to be able to tack, clear, and lose as little distance as possible. So the boat just to windward of them have peeled out. San Diego, light. It's gone light after the start. What do we got there? 7, 8, maybe 9 knots of breeze at most.
We're getting off very close to the Jamestown shoreline. Boats are asking for room to tack. We're going to see a quick duck here on San Diego, possibly. The other problem here is San Diego went right behind Royal Canadian, so they're kind of in the same problem, Andy. A boat on their lee bow, they can't put the bow down and rumble.
Yeah, and they're wondering whether they're going to be clear on port as they continue. The tactician there just keeping his eyes underneath as the starboard tackers come towards them. Now, pretty much the whole fleet are now on port, heading into the middle of the race course. The middle is where there'll be slightly better tide, and I actually prefer the boats that have gone towards the right-hand side. At the moment, Southern Yacht Club, Irish eyes are smiling because they are leading. Close behind them, Eastern New York. Yacht Club Costa Esmeralda on the left-hand side. We're with San Diego. Surrounding them is Royal Canadian Yacht Club ahead and just about a boat length to leeward. Just to windward is the Royal Thames, but about 3 or 4 boat lengths behind. Royal Thames had to do 2 tacks to clear out. They are not looking in good shape at all. They are wanting that left-hand breeze to build big time. Look at the cloud cover. It's low cloud cover, really tricky conditions.
Great shot.
Hard to see the wind on the water, but it is flat.
You mentioned Hoth Yacht Club being out in front. I have it on good authority that team did not go to bed early last night, and yet maybe sometimes you need a clear the cobwebs, sort of night to improve your performance in sailing.
On board with Eastern Yacht Club, they are to the right-hand side of the racecourse, heading towards the right.
Now, let's bring Katie back into the broadcast. Katie, I know you're on the race course with the sailors. Just how compressed is this course in this wind direction with the shorelines on either side?
Tucker, I have to say, looking at track doesn't do it justice, but being out on the course, it just feels like the fleet is so condensed. I mean, we are on the boat that I'm on right now. I am so close to that shoreline, and I'm not even 2 boat lengths away from San Diego Yacht Club right now. So being out in the bay, there's lots of room to stretch your legs, but here in this area, it just feels so much more condensed, and the boats are really feeling it.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see the fleet spread out as much as we did yesterday. Andy, yesterday was one of the biggest spreads in the fleet with big holes, landmines, if you will, of lulls where the boats would slow down. Of course, those that can pick their way through those puffs the best, like Southern Yacht Club, for example, in San Diego here, did a good job. Meanwhile, San Diego in this race is having a tough time of it. They got ping-ponged a couple times. They either had a boat on their breeze on starboard or they run inshore, Andy, and have got to do another 2 tacks. It's going to slow them down.
Yeah, I've sailed around this a lot in Wednesday night. Shields racing, great fun. If it were me, I think I'd be heading towards the right-hand side because there's more tide and there's quite substantially more on the right-hand side. As I say that, the left-hand side suddenly coming quite good.
Canadian.
Yeah, right. But I like the right for more tide. You've got to stay in the tide, and if you can get to the other side of Gould Island, there is a bit more tide on that side. But the breeze may well be going right on the left is now looking good with the Royal Canadians now taking the lead. It is.
Yeah,
It is
very
all over the place, the breeze right now. This is going to be fascinating to see how this rolls out. Royal Canadians with a huge jump, quite a big left-hand shift right now.
And that's them in the bottom of the screen, just to lure it in ahead of San Diego Yacht Club. And Chris, did you notice that Andy's a bit of a fair weather friend, right? He likes the right up until he doesn't, and then just forget the right. You're dead to me. I'll take the left.
I think the boats that erred on the right-hand side were doing the right, generally the correct decision-making process. Because if you go inshore to Connecticut Island, there is definitely 0.1, 0.2, maybe even up to 0.3 of a knot less tide helping you up the race course.
Yeah, I think the thing that I'm really trying to pay attention to here is that there are a lot of great lessons to be learned by the way these sailors manage themselves. You know, San Diego was in a really bad spot, but they had to hang there for their micro plan, and I'm fascinated to hear from them when we talk to them afterwards, who's looking at the big picture. And if you have that patience and wherewithal, if the big picture is saying we have to go this way and it's high percentage to stay this way, then you have to have the patience to keep that angle of heel exactly as right, stop the bleeding, but keep going in that direction for as long as you can. And you can see with San Diego Yacht Club, those micro decisions paid off because they were looking at the macro.
Yeah. Yeah.
More puff basically has come in from the left-hand side, so I think the shift is still sort of towards the right, but the breeze filled in from that left-hand side first. It is a real shake-up here because Royal Thames look pretty good from where our eye is, but they're showing in ninth, but there they go, just creeping up the tracker as we watch activities in this race number 9. Fascinating.
Question for you.
Formal races, no dropout.
Question for you, Andy. It has nothing to do with the right-hand side. Can you get a geographic lift on port if you go inshore towards Connecticut Island, as we see Royal Canadian doing here?
It is possible, and there is also a chance that because we're early stages in this fair tide, that the tide changed first on the Connecticut shore, and there is potentially a fraction more because the tide changes first in the shallower water. Once the tide is complete, it's much better in the deeper water. But now, again, the boats having to tack back and forth to try and protect their lead and to try and take the best shifts as they head off upwind.
Wow, that was Royal Canadian tacking there right on the line of San Diego. The question here, Chris, do you think San Diego is going to get across that pack of 3 starboard tackers?
Well, it doesn't look like it.
That's the answer. No.
But you know, they have to make these decisions too, even if it's really close, or if it's worth risking it because it's definitely obvious to go the direction that they want. Now they're going back to where they made their gains. So maybe Andy's still right with that. Maybe that it's still a little bit stronger on the left side because it does change on the sides first. And how long that lasts, we don't know. I'd love to hear from Katie to see if there's anything obvious on the course and said, hey, Katie, if you were racing this race course right now, what direction would you be going for the top third of this race course? Is it obvious?
Yeah, Chris, first off, I would just like to let you know that you're making our broadcast sound exceptionally intelligent. So thank you for that. But if I were racing myself, I would probably be looking at this top left-hand corner. The breeze seems to be filling in here, and more puffs are coming from this way. So I think, you know, it looks to be about down breeze, and you know, we are seeing some shifts, and just, you know, with this flat water, you want to keep that boat moving. So if I were racing myself, I would definitely just be getting heads out of the boat and looking for where that breeze is really going to be filling in from.
And Katie, what's the trend of the breeze overall? Is it getting softer out there? Do we see any hint that it might increase or stay soft?
Yeah, Tucker, it's funny, you know, that top that top left corner, it does appear to be more puffy out there. That's why I'm looking more in that direction. And that right seems to be a little softer, but it's up and down. The breeze is really, it's not dying out completely, but then again, there are some puffs to be had. But then again, like I just mentioned, it's getting your head out of that boat and seeing where the breeze is going to fill in from. So it's down now, but it can get back up in those puffs.
Thank you, Katie. You know, in many ways, I think sailing in light conditions like this is often much harder than it is in good breeze.
Extremely tricky for the tacticians now on board. Chris, just talk to us about some of those tacticians towards the front of the fleet that you know well, some of their styles and how they're getting on, as you'll want a little bit of info there.
Say something intelligent.
Well, the tactician for Hal is a split role between Laura Dillon and Rick Deneve.
No, it's not. No, that was a joke. They threw Rick on there just to make fun of him.
Oh, well. Oh, right, because he can't do tactics for Toffee. Yes. Laura Dillon, the tactician on Hoth Yacht Club, and the Royal Canadian Yacht Club, Lance Fraser, doing it for Terry McLaughlin. And we've also got those rebels from Rye, from the American Yacht Club. They are doing very nicely, leading at the moment Thomas Blackwell, the tactician, and on board here with San Diego Yacht Club. Their tactician, Jake Ladow, he's been doing a great job. But look at the difference in angle. San Diego don't have that puff, and they're bowed down a little. They want to just ease their jib a little. They want to poke the bow up. They're just trying to go fast over the top of those boats to leeward. But oh, that looks tricky. And American Yacht Club, I think that's the boat that we can see crossing on starboard now. Tyler Sinks has got the boat up to speed, and now he's taking the lift and the little bit of breeze that they sailed into, and that puts them in good shape on those two boats just to leeward of them. Who are those two boats to leeward of the San Diego Yacht Club? It is, well, here we go, just switch shots right there. That's the Royal Canadian Yacht Club right there, the two boats.
Royal Canadian, just to lure to them. Hoth Yacht Club having a terrific race.
Royal Thames and Hoth, just to leeward of San Diego Yacht Club. They were just trying to get their bow down and go fast to try and make sure that they were in clear air to windward.
Tell you what, this entire fleet's going to get to the windward mark in one big tight pack.
Yeah, this isn't sailing, this is ping pong. Look at this, back and forth, back and forth. It is fascinating. And tacticians' nightmare.
Yeah, well, remember we were talking about how this upper bay is a totally different program than out in the open ocean. And we're talking about tacticians. Let's look at Norotan Yacht Club, who's been kind of deep for a while, but they had one good race yesterday. And Yacht Club Italiano, who has the only female skipper in the group. I wish we saw more of them and more females in this fleet. They, on Norotan, that's Scott McLeod, who is, I guess he was marketing for Team American Magic, but an ex-Finn sailor, a Finn campaigner, second at the Olympic trials for the '84 games, and he's an excellent sailor, and he's been really doing most of his racing in team racing, small boat team racing, which they've won the Hinman Masters for Norotan. But I think that's great to see them up in the fleet. This is sometimes where your plate is placed in with your experience with the IC-37s. Doesn't matter as much to feeling out this race course. And I know with Carl Ziegler, the helmsman of Norotan, that we sailed the World Championship here where we won the first and last race of the World Championships in these conditions. And he really knows how to put the pressure on in these conditions where it's puffy and small pressure gains.
Fascinating here. On board with San Diego, just to leeward the Royal Thames Yacht Club, both of them trying to get out to this right-hand side. San Diego holding what you'd call a thin lane. Interesting to see the way the teams are positioned. We may see a little duck here from San Diego. They definitely want to get towards the right-hand side, and maybe breeze just edged a little bit into the right. Royal Thames ducking, and that'll give San Diego a little bit more room to breathe. And the Yacht Club, and that is the Finnish team, just crossing both of them right there. It's going to be tight at the top.
At the opening of the show, Andy, you talked about how quickly you can make or lose 13 points. San Diego Yacht Club had 2 bullets yesterday. They're currently in 13th right now.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Where are Southern Yacht Club? Well, all of this is going to come out in the wash when we get to the top mark. Southern have been battling in mid-fleet, I'd say, because at the moment, American Yacht Club, Itchner, Yacht Club Costas from Merelda, Eastern, who are doing so great, not so good now, but now the right-hand side coming in a little bit, maybe Norotan looking in good shape. New York Yacht Club currently 7th, it's calling for, but honestly, the breeze is up and down like the flags on Navy Day. It is very tricky out there today. Towards the windward mark, we've only got around 3 minutes to go, and look how close the boats are. Itchner doing very nicely, just to leeward of the American Yacht Club from Rye. Norotan way out there on the right hand side. New York Yacht Club in the middle of the pack here. They've just crossed in front of the Royal Thames, who are digging themselves back, and they are battling with San Diego Yacht Club now mid-fleet for sure.
It's pretty easy to say that someone like Johnny Lovell, who's steering for the Southern team, has kind of a superpower, having done has multiple Olympic medals and having competed at such a high level for so long. But it's a testament to this fleet that the boat handling there's not much of a difference in the boat handling. So as we come up to this weather mark, it's not that someone like John Lovell can just make the boat pass someone at the weather mark. Everyone's as good.
No, you're right. Look, I just want to point out how tight this pack of 3 is, Andy, coming into the top mark there. That lead bow that's barely stuck.
Yeah, that's Norotan and American Yacht Club on the starboard ley line, coming in towards the top mark, close. Oh, look, there's actually a boat.
Itchner.
There's a boat in between them. That's Itchner. Wow. All 3 off they go.
You don't get any tighter than that.
No, and I'd actually like to learn from Andy. We know a lot about these American sailors.
You ever do.
But I would like to learn, what the background is of the Itchner sailors are.
Well, Barry Sampson, a long-time member here. I think he's done 6 out of the 7 Rolex New York Yacht Club Invitationals, and he was very hard on himself after the first day or two. He's done 4 of them, thank you. He was very hard on himself after the first day where they were bumping around the back. But again, an amateur helmsman, he's now retired, but he is a very keen sailor. He's got his own oyster, I think, and here we go. Round the top mark, and that is...
Is that Norotan in first?
It says American.
Yes.
American, Tucker.
American,
it is. Okay.
American, Norotan.
We've got it wrong on track.
Norotan, and that's the track just catching up. We'll see.
Yep.
We can see with our eyes here, and they've decided that there's enough
American, Itchner, okay, so Norotan's in 3rd then. In New York, back in the hunt, Andy, in 4th.
Yeah, light breeze.
Look at those boats all piling in, Chris. I mean, it's basically bow to stern, bow to stern.
Yacht Club Italiano, and then here we go, the golden spinnaker of Southern Yacht Club as they go up and just they got to get that shoot up. The breeze light, and you can tell that because they're starting to get jibs down.
Yep, I was just going to say.
Sub 12 knots of breeze or so.
When the fleet rounds this close, it really cuts off a lot of options for you when you first start off that downwind leg, because if you jibe right away, even if there's more breeze looking downwind to the left side of the course, you have the wall of China above you.
Yeah, wind shadows are plenty.
It's sometimes only one person comes out of that, so whoever risks that, if there's a benefit of going to the left side facing downwind, we'll find out.
But the boats further behind are keener to jibe away than the boats in front, and that's why we can see on board with San Diego Yacht Club here, they are looking to jibe all the time. Are they going to go? They're thinking about it for sure.
All right, let's ask Katie out there. She's got the best view of the race course. Katie, are there any lanes of breeze for boats that want to jibe onto port?
Hi, Tucker. Yes, actually, I don't know if you all have a crystal ball there, but San Diego Yacht Club, they were looking for their lane, and they have just in fact jibed to get that clear air. They didn't have the best kind of top 3rd or top 4th of that last beat, and they're just looking to get some clean air and just go away with it. And the breeze is now filling in again. It's up a bit. That last minute that the boats were coming up to the windward mark, it was down. So it's really, again, I'm going to say it again. It is get your head out and see where the breeze is coming from so you can just get some air and go.
All right, thanks, Katie. And Chris, clear air downwind when the fleet is this compressed is almost impossible to find, particularly for the front runners. For example, the lead boat's surrounded by 2 others that are close on their heels, and of course there's another 17 boats behind them full of wind shadows.
Yeah, it's another kind of a great equalizer. We were talking about the shiftiness of it, but we noticed a day or 2 ago with Southern Yacht Club, they were able to go higher and faster and net out way better past, a couple boats on a downwind leg when there are very few passing lanes. It's not windy enough to do that. The boats are actually going, even though they're nice boats, they're not going very fast at all. So in this breeze. So you can't take another 2 or 3 knot jump by heading up just another degree or 2. So I think right now it's just getting in pressure and soaking down with that pressure, and there are long, narrow streaks of pressure which don't work well for asymmetrical boats. So catching into that makes it even more difficult to stay in a vein of pressure because you want to go up at an angle, and those veins of pressures are going straight downwind.
Andy, question for you, a team that you know very well, Royal Thames. They were one of the very first to jibe all the way on the top of the screen there. According to TrackTrack, they're making huge gains.
Yeah, I think they are. I think there's better breeze on that side. Yeah, they had to take that risk because they were in the double digits. They came round in 11th or so. So they had to jibe, and it may be that early jibe looking good. I think to get out of the tide, if there is any, you've got to go all the way to this Connecticut or Jamestown shore, which is just above where the drone is. But we're following now Norotan, followed by New York Yacht Club right in front of screen.
If we are early on in the tide cycle, as you pointed out, then the current could be worse inshore at this phase.
I think that's probably gone away now. It's usually only in the first sort of 45 minutes of the tidal change, and we'll start to see a building tide against these boats. It'll be, if you've got tide against, though, it means that the amount of wind that you've got, the puff, is all the more important. If you get in a decent puff, the amount of tide that affects you gets proportionally less to your boat speed in the puffs.
Now, Chris, I want to ask you about risks, because this is Norotan Yacht Club. You mentioned Scott McLeod. They are the only boat left on starboard. Everyone else has jibed onto port. They're going all the way inshore. Do you think that's a smart call?
Well, the one thing I do know about that skipper and crew combination is they're not dreamers. They make their decisions based on fact, and all sailors start out wanting to make their decisions based on fact, and then they get lured into some other ideas. In this particular case, they're coming out pretty hot, and it's not looking that great for them. But you make your call, and you have to live with it. And right now, geez, if I had to guess, what does the tracker say with these guys coming back?
Not looking good.
Not good at all.
They went around the top mark, I think, in the top 5.
So it's feast or famine. So this might be the first move that we've seen on in this race so far where there's a big penalty in the decision making. Unfortunately, it may not work out for them, but let's see how it comes out over the course of the thing. It's all about the macro and the micro, and if their macro is really good, then this is going to be a good move.
I hate to be negative, but I'm not so sure it is.
Well, what I really want to know from Katie, who's down on the water, is the boats that jibed early look like they're making gains. Is it a shift, or have they got slightly better pressure on that right-hand side?
I'm going to reconnect the call, and we can ask her. But while I've got Katie coming in, Andy, it looks like we're getting a whole fleet reshuffle here. Everything down that left side looking downwind is starting to angle forward. All the boats that have jibed early, I think, are starting to gain. Let's see if we can get Katie back here to Katie, you there?
Yeah, Tucker, hi. We were just joking on board, but it appears to be a drag race. All the boats have kind of condensed across in a line across the course, all looking upwind to the right. It's so even right now. It really is anybody's game.
Well, my question for you is, the boats that jibed early, has the breeze shifted a little to the right, or is it about a bit more wind that they've got coming down that right-hand side of the racecourse?
I would say, Andy, that the wind has shifted a bit. This left-hand side, although there appears to be more pressure, I just think that you're getting yourself into a hole over here, which is unfortunately what my new friends, the Finnish team, are having to deal with.
Okay, very good. Well, fascinating conditions out there. Just paint the picture. Looks like a little low cloud. What are you seeing out there? Just paint the picture for us a bit, Katie.
Well, to be honest, Andy, it's an ugly day out here. No, I mean, it's, there's just a ton of cloud coverage. There's tons of spectators, though. So even though it's not the most pretty day out here, so many people have come from far and wide to support this event. And, like Chris had mentioned before, even though these are amateur sailors who have day jobs and of various, probably not sailing and not within the sailing industry, their support team is huge. So, I mean, if you're out in the water, come join us. There's a lot of fun to be had, even on an ugly day like today.
Well, something fast. Thank you, Katie. That's great. Well, one of these interesting things is we've got the drone on the leader here, Southern Yacht Club, the overall leader, but they are being pushed out to what seems to be the unfavorable side, and they're in a battle with the New York Yacht Club, and these guys are slipping down the leaderboard all the time as we are just following them with the drone, and all the boats on the other side making big gains towards the bottom mark.
Bit of a fleet reversal here.
Yeah, this is fascinating. Well, we hope our sound isn't too distorted. We've got Department of Public Works putting in a new pavement outside. They didn't tell us about that, but we'll see what we can do. Probably not a lot. Anyway, we're following the fleet down right now. American Yacht Club and the Royal Thames Yacht Club looking to be in very good shape coming into the bottom mark here. We've got about 3 or 4 minutes now to go to the bottom. San Diego Yacht Club. Look at the kinetics. They're having to do so many jibes there. They're being pinged from pillar to post. As now they jibe back onto starboard. So much boat handling needed. The kinetics. Now they've got a decent puff on the right hand side.
Wow, where did that come from?
Look at that. Huge puff as they come in. Maybe they just overlaid. That's I think what the problem is. They've overlaid into this bottom mark. And they are below the rest of the fleet. They're actually looking in pretty good shape.
Hold on,
San Diego.
let's see what's going on here.
I quite like what they've done here. They've gone a little further, and now they're coming in hot.
Katie, what do you see? What is going on with San Diego Yacht Club? They are flying. Crew on the rail, pace up.
Tucker, they've got a Hail Mary. That's what we would say about the Cubs. They've got a Hail Mary pass right now. There is breeze coming out of nowhere from that right side. I know I've been talking about that left side all day, but this right is really paying off. And I do think that they overshot just a tad, but it's really making game for them. So maybe that was the play.
All right, thanks, Katie.
Oh, look at that. These boats just underneath us. That's New York Yacht Club. That's Southern Yacht Club. Just not looking in good shape at all coming out of this left-hand side. Everyone else coming back from the right-hand side. Gould Island in the background, and the torpedo testing base, and then behind that is the Naval War College, where they've been having a confederation of 200 of Navy admirals from all around the world. It's been quite the security scene over there, and we can see Bermuda just on starboard there as everyone comes in towards the bottom mark, and that has been a turnaround. It has been a shuffle, that's for sure. American Yacht Club, Royal Canadian, Royal Thames, San Diego, all coming in from that right-hand side. I don't see Southern, I don't see the Thames, I don't see the Royal Cork in 5th, so they're the best of the bunch right now, and San Diego as well. So
I can tell you, Andy, Southern Yacht Club and New York Yacht Club, along with Eastern, are out to the far left-hand side. And if you're watching, we're always referencing left and right to the wind direction. So whether they're going upwind or downwind, or in this case, if the camera changes angles, we're always looking at it as if you're this perspective, looking upwind when we talk about left or right. And that's the far left is not working now, which Southern, New York, and Eastern have just found out. Meanwhile, Andy, coming into the leeward mark, that puff has dropped again. Here is your leader.
Very good. It's a combination here of American Yacht Club and Royal Canadian. So they're going around different marks. I like the Royal Canadian right-hand side there. American Yacht Club going around this left-hand mark as we look in. That's closer to us, followed by the Royal Thames, who are on a bit of a comeback, a bit of a charge here, having had a very poor start. They were in 17th on the left-hand side out of the first start. So well done to Johnny Greenland and his gang on board the Royal Thames Yacht Club.
You know, one thing, I have two notes here in the leading group with American Yacht Club and Royal Canadian. One is with American Yacht Club with, who's that, Peter Duncan? Yeah. Peter Duncan, the skipper, he's been sailing the IC-37s all summer here. And I just got a note from Senate Bischoff that on the races that they sailed in this exact same direction, that the puffs come down from the land, and it's no surprise that it looks like, where's American headed right now?
American headed to the left.
They're heading to the left to the Jamestown shore. So, and Senate was just sending me a text just letting me know that Peter was right on all those calls this summer, or at least learned a lot from it this summer. So that's no surprise. Really quickly with the Royal Canadian Yacht Club, it amazed me the comebacks that team could make and their consistency towards the end of a regatta. So I think Terry McLaughlin and his team are really strong in terms of when the pressure's on.
That's awesome. And thanks, Senate, for chiming in. We'd like to invite all of you to comment and look at the Golden Spinnaker. Andy, Southern Yacht Club still struggling to go downwind and get to the mark. 3rd from last. While the rest of the fleet heads upwind.
17th they're in at the moment. New York in 18th. That left-hand side on the downwind was awful, and it is a real disaster for Southern Yacht Club. And that is, well, they played their get-out-of-jail-free card in the last race yesterday. Let's see if they've got another one here, but they need to play it and play it quick.
You don't get many of those in a fleet like this.
You do not. And well, this is going to be fascinating. It's it's like putting the lottery balls in a basket and shaking it around. But it's good for us. It keeps it nice and close. It keeps it tight. And the Royal Thames are in the boss seat with Royal Cork and San Diego now. They are on the up and up.
Andy, I was going to ask you, you are oddly our local knowledge expert, considering, but you live here in Newport now, obviously, for many years, but there are massive veins of pressure in this light conditions, like as we see here in San Diego. When you get one of those shots of breeze, it is game on.
Yeah, tricky conditions with a fair tide on the upwind and a foul tide on the downwind, with a northerly breeze coming off the land with a low cloud. It is tricky to do, and there's a difference in tide from inshore to offshore. And American Yacht Club now just tacking a slightly light spot right there.
Look at the difference. San Diego, all crew on the rail, heeled over. American, everybody kind of leaning in. The heel angle, Chris, was pretty straight up and down. There are chances for big gains and big losses on this course.
Well, there are chances, but I'll just chime in there. But the problem is, for New York Yacht Club and for Southern Yacht Club, they got so light on that downwind that they actually lost substantial amounts of real distance. And that is going to really cause them trouble, because before in the races we've seen the boats very tightly bunched. So if you're in 16, 15, 17, you can actually find a little shift and get back. But now the boats in 15 Norotan downwards are a long way back. And Eastern seem to have a real problem. They're 100 meters back from the New York Yacht Club, who are in second to last. Eastern sucking lemons.
Who's this? Number 8, is it?
Yeah, that's American Yacht Club. We're with the leader.
Okay.
We're with the leaders, and they've got Royal Canadian just to leeward of them now, tacking onto starboard. That
Thames.
is the Royal Thames. So the Royal Thames, giddy up. They've got the bit between their teeth. They are off. They want to get this one because it's all on. 13 points. They're putting 4 points on the Southern Yacht Club right now, including the 13-point deficit they started this morning with only an hour ago.
Well, I have a challenge for everyone. One thing that, it's easy to look at, the leaderboard as far as the overall regatta. I'm very curious to see, you have Southern Yacht Club and Norotan Yacht Club, who are at the top of the fleet in the, partway through that race, and now they're near the bottom of the fleet. And we all know that the strength of a team isn't necessarily how many races they can win, it's how they can come back from a really bad position. So we've seen them up, we know that they can do it, and now they're deep, and they know that the fortunes can change just as quick another time. So if they can stay positive and pick away at it, or like San Diego, they get, what Katie said, a Hail Mary, but I'm sure that was quite calculated. I'm curious to see, track Southern and track Norotan and see which one of those can come back from that salvage that race.
Well, let's ask Katie. Katie, you're out there on the water. You can see the puffs. You can see the shifts that are affecting the entire fleet better than we can here in the studio. So, are there opportunities? We're seeing veins of breeze come down. Are there big opportunities that these tacticians can find on this beat?
Yeah, Tucker, it's so funny. You talk about those veins of pressure, and it really is a pressure game. I had the chance to speak with Jake Liddell, the tactician for San Diego, and he, just shifting of modes. Not only is it looking for pressure, but everybody on your squad really has to have their head out of the boat because it's transitions as well. When the breeze is down, you're trying to move your body weight as one. It's very similar to dinghy sailing on the IC-37 in that respect. So keeping the boat going fast and yes, looking for pressure, but also, shifting.
Yeah, I think we lost Katie there, but Chris, Katie brings up a really good point. These boats they're not only fast and fun to sail, but they're very physical. They're like a 37-foot dinghy, and the crews that are able to be very physical with them, shifting gears, the trimmers, the helmsmen, all the rest of it, they can really make or break your racing.
Yeah, absolutely. Laura Beigel, our communications director here, we were talking about that, how physical they can be. And if you watched on those downwind legs, there was a bunch of men and women in these boats getting really low, like they were sailing their own individual boats. And I'm really trying to pay attention here to the crew work on these boats. So you would see them, each one looks like they were sailing their own laser or their own FJ. And then when the puff came, you saw that with San Diego, the jib went up for a better slot, performance-wise, and everyone went to the rail. So I think that all these teams are pretty switched on, and now it's just minutia. Who presses harder and figures that out sooner when everyone can be up on the rail and get that extra 1/10 of a knot or even a 1/2 a knot in this breeze, and then who loads it up before the boat washes out from underneath them and they lose their flow on their keel and rudder.
And Andy, to your point about working your way back through the fleet when you're having a deep one, let's take a look at Southern Yacht Club yesterday, and of course they're having a deep one right now. Yesterday we were out in the ocean, so the opportunities to take a flyer and gain a big amount of leverage in a shift, like we saw in that last race, the lefty, worked yesterday offshore. But here, the whole fleet is compressed. They're not going to find as many opportunities, are they?
Well, honestly, what happened yesterday was most of the fleet went towards the right-hand side, and because Southern was so far behind, and San Diego to an extent, they actually had to hit the left-hand side, but they had quite a lot of opportunity to put leverage, to put distance in between, because most boats favoring the right-hand side of the racecourse, including New York Yacht Club yesterday, who were leading, and then the breeze went hard right. New York Yacht Club went all the way down to double digits, and that's when Southern Yacht Club were able to bring it back. Can they do it today? I don't know. It's looking pretty difficult for them. Southern's still battling it out with New York Yacht Club and Eastern Yacht Club. What the Southern Yacht Club need is now a right-hand shift, but the whole fleet on port pretty much all heading out to the right-hand side. So the opportunities for Southern Yacht Club to get back into this a little limited. This, the final upwind leg, then we've got another downwind to the finish.
All right.
Tricky times.
I think it's going to be the run. I mean, it was the first run is where we saw that a massive fleet reversal, if you will.
Right, and remember,
Could see that again.
Yeah, they've got the opportunity by being the boat behind when they come around to jibe immediately, to get in fresher breeze, and to see if they can get some leverage on the boats that have to continue on after they come around the top mark. Boats just starting now to tack back onto starboard, come into the middle of the race course again. We're about 2/3 of the way up the beat, and the majority of the fleet now edging towards the right-hand side. It's going to be tricky for Southern to get back into this. They really need a top 10 finish because Royal Thames and San Diego all in the top 5.
And where's Royal Cork? There's a team in 3rd overall. We haven't heard much of them today.
5th.
Okay, so they're in the hunt. That could be them far right of screen. Far left of screen is Royal Canadian, American, and San Diego trading tacks there. San Diego was actually just out of frame. They were on starboard, and they were punched. San Diego's really turned it on in the second half of this regatta. Chris, I'm sure you followed this regatta 2 years ago. If you were a betting person, there's almost no way they could have lost. I think going into that race where we saw the mistake, they were, 18 points ahead or something like that. And of course, they did lose it to Royal Sydney. But they're turning it back on again the second half of this event.
Well, like we said, all these sailors are champions, and all of us observers, if we've had even a taste of succeeding, even in like PHRF or anything else like that, when you take a loss, it hurts, you know? And I know these are first world problems, but I'm sure Tyler and his team took that and it's on his mind daily.
Oh, close here. Now, on track. San Diego Yacht Club and Royal Thames just ducking fractionally behind American Yacht Club and Royal Canadian. Those are your top 4 boats right now. And what they want to do is not disturb each other too much. They want to keep extending those 4 boats, really, particularly San Diego and Royal Thames. They don't want to be getting into too much biffo here. They want to be extending and getting to the top. That's a boxing term. And another translation, Department of Public Works, I'm told, are working on the sidewalk, not the pavement.
That's right, the noise in the background.
That's the noise in the background. But they're done in a few minutes.
The noise in the foreground is Andy Green.
I did want to ask Katie a question. As observers, we're trying to conjecture here in terms of, what's the plan here? What are these teams thinking? Big picture and small picture. But Katie, you sailed with the Finnish team before. I'm not going to try the name because you corrected me, but you sailed with the Finnish team before, and I'm always curious to hear what a team's plan was and their mood before they start, and then how it plays out in the racing. So you met with them beforehand. What was their plan? What was their kind of mood before they started? And I know they're not. I hate to point them out. They're not doing so hot right now. But what was their plan leading into this day of racing?
Chris, I had I want to say one of the most fun mornings on board with Henrik and his team. Magnus, this tactician, was giving me all sorts of finish history and also just telling me a bit more about the squad. You know, they've never sailed an IC-37 collectively before. They got here last week to do some practice, and you know, their kind of everyday game plan is really, honestly, just to have fun. They all grew up sailing with one another, and they match race together. They sail on a J70 together, some of them. And, you know, they might not be doing the best in this regatta, but they just come out here and they just take one race at a time, and they laugh. They laugh so much. Some of it was in Finnish, some of it was in English, but I couldn't stop laughing. It was just, yeah, it's fun. The name of the game for them is fun.
Yeah, that tactician Magnus, a super guy. Yeah, I sailed with him in the Nations Cup back in 1993, where he put me in a laundry cart and rolled me down the stairs. Great fun. He's a good guy with a great humor.
I have a few things to say about you, Eddie.
You know, Chris, I just made an observation. You asked specifically, Katie, how they were going to approach today, and I've noticed a pattern. Andy, I'd be curious if you agree with this pattern. It seems that every boat Katie has gotten on has had a bad day when she's on board the boat in the morning. You know, Hoth yesterday and the Finnish one in this race today. Maybe it's Katie.
Yeah, we're not superstitious.
That is rude, Tucker.
We're not superstitious here. We are following the fleet, and at the moment on.
Sorry, Katie, it was easy. It was a layup.
But it's an excellent point, because trying to stay focused in an event like this and still have a good time is the name of the game. And this is one of those rare events in the world where you're trying to do both.
Chris, I know you're writing an article, and I have video of how cool last night's party was. I mean, if ever there was a group that had fun, it was this at this regatta. And if you are watching and you have never done the Invitational Cup, reach out to the New York Yacht Club. Andy, you can apply for an invitation, or you can sail through.
Yes, for the American teams at the Resolute Cup, applications opening in a few weeks. You can talk to Stu Strelli, the Dungargan here, running the sailing office, and he is, that's probably not his official title anyway. Communications Director, thank you, Tucker. And for the international teams, you can apply yourselves through your yacht club to the New York Yacht Club, as we see great pictures from on the water of the Royal Canadian Yacht Club 05 coming in very close. Let's hold with this and see how they're going against
San Diego.
Against San Diego, yeah, coming together here. Port.
This for the lead.
Royal Canadian on port. They have to keep clear. Oh, this is going to be close. 2 crosses here. Royal Thames. Yeah, they are going to.
Big duck.
Yeah, ducks.
And a lee bow.
Oh, wow.
And then back up with the bow again. Look at this. Is like match racing tactics, Andy.
Who's flagging that?
For the lead. Oh, and something just happened out to the far right. But keep your eyes on these 2 boats that are in the foreground here. They've got to stay to port to the left, or to the right rather, of that pink limit mark. And now we've got ley line approaching, Andy.
Oh, this is going to be fascinating. Okay.
A pinch fest.
Yeah.
Oh, and another starboard tacker coming here. That's San Diego Yacht Club has tacked onto starboard. Royal Thames and American Yacht Club are on port. It's a duck. No, that's Canadian who's ducked. Oh, a double duck. Both starboard tackers. San Diego's out in front.
American and the Royal Thames having to duck now. San Diego and the Royal Canadian in a good space there. But look how tight it is coming into the top. The umpire's nearby. We're going to check there are no fouls, but it looked just about okay.
Chris, you talked about treating these keel boats like a dinghy. Well, there it is.
Well, the one thing that I'm really impressed about right now is not just the ability to do these boat handlings, but the consistency towards the back end, the pointy end of this regatta with the Royal Canadian and San Diego. And if you look at their past history, they turn it on at the end of the regatta. And that's really something special, not just for the skippers, the tacticians, but the entire team. Because one little mistake and you can't hang in that spot. So it goes down through the whole team, and there's just something about the consistency of those 2 teams over the years.
Good point.
That is, you know, you're watching it right now, and I'd put my money on them.
Andy, there's a boat spinning out in the background there. I'm sure it was one of those 4.
Oh dear.
I'll let you know actually on track.
We'll see.
Yeah, very good point, Chris.
Yeah, we'll see it soon. But at the moment, I'm not sure it was one of the top 4. I think that we have San Diego Yacht Club ahead of Royal Canadian, and San Diego went for
Royal Thames.
Royal Thames.
Royal Thames.
Oh, Royal Thames.
2
turns terrible for them. That has got them right out of it. Should have just ducked. They didn't get it in time. They got penalised, and now they are down in 10th.
Ouch. Live by the sword, die by it. It got very close at the top mark there, Chris. We keep it the analogy that these are like dinghies. I consider this college sailing for adults. That's
Yeah.
what it's like.
Yeah, well, I just like the spontaneity that they have because they rely so heavily on their crew work. But to be able to do like what the O'Learys just did with the Royal Cork, they moved up the rankings, I think. I don't think they were up there.
Royal Cork, it doesn't matter which year we could choose. Royal Cork are between 6th and 3rd throughout the entire regatta, and every so often they come right up. But the O'Leary family do a super job of that. We are eyes on the Royal Canadian Yacht Club right now, who have also jibed onto port. I think everyone is liking early jibe onto port. See if we got some race comms here.
To your question, Royal Cork has sailed in every edition of this event along with New York. Chris, their finishes 5th, 8th, 4th, 7th, 11th, and 3rd. Meanwhile, Royal Canadian, who we just saw, has finished 2nd and 1st and 1st.
And if I'm not mistaken, one of the O'Learys is a star sailor. Is that the same family that went to the Olympics?
Absolutely. Yep, Olympian.
Two-time Olympian.
Yep, very good.
Yeah, I remember watching those races. Olympic NBC coverage is excellent, and to have an Irish sailor at the top of the Olympics, it happens every once in a while, and the O'Learys kind of had a grasp on that for a couple of years. So again, all these people, you don't want them behind you on a downwind leg. Any of them.
There's Royal Canadian there. They've done a bit of a flyer, if you can call it that. They're farther away from any of the other boats in the fleet, continuing to go off to the right-hand side as we look upwind on port. Meanwhile, your leaders, San Diego Yacht Club, followed by Royal Cork. And in the background, you can just see 3 boats coming into frame. That is Hoth Yacht Club Costa Smeralda and the San Francisco Yacht Club, who was on stage. They brought the house down last night with with their singing.
Well, San Diego Yacht Club with 2 wins yesterday, a win today. I mean, in the end, if you just keep putting in bullets, there's nothing else you can do. I mean, if you keep getting a 1 on your score sheet, it's up to everybody else whether they can tighten it up. And from the back of the fleet, we should give you a little more info. Southern Yacht Club have squeezed themselves back into 12th, now just 1 behind Royal Thames, who had to do those spins at the top. They'll be dizzy from that, and that is such bad luck for them. Bad luck, and, well, they obviously fouled, and the umpires gave it to them. Do 2 turns.
One thing that, Chris, you've noticed over the years watching this, I know it sounds like a cliche, but it's true. It's not over until it's over. We have seen races overturned late in the day, like yesterday with Southern Yacht Club. We've seen entire regattas overturned, like we saw between Royal Sydney Yacht Club from Australia and San Diego Yacht Club's loss last year after dominating all week. So it's just one of those cases of you're not going to know if you're watching this broadcast until tomorrow afternoon, the finish of the last race, to seal the deal. Meanwhile, Andy, there is that yellow spinnaker of Southern Yacht Club, the golden spinnaker, meaning you're in the lead of the regatta so far. It's not going to take a lot of number crunching to figure out where they're going to be after they finish, if this stays the way it is.
Yeah, that golden spinnaker for Southern Yacht Club looks real heavy right now.
You know, you normally think of sailing conditions where it's like 10 to 12 knots, like Biscayne Bay, 2-degree shifts, as perfect sailing conditions.
Boring.
And yeah, exactly. I really think, and I wonder how the skippers feel. I know how I would feel, that when you look at this race course, no matter how much it hurts to be thrown in the back like Southern and Noroton has that happen to them, you still can have the elation of San Diego jumping right back up into it. And I would argue that the holes aren't no breeze holes. So as long as there's consistent wind on the low end, and these, like Tucker was saying, these veins of pressure, these pretty dramatic changes in pressure and shifts, I think this is a better race than you can ever hope for. And I don't know if Katie's watching this chess game and feeling the same way.
You might have just woken her up. Hey, Katie, I have a question for you. Far right-hand side, top of our screen, is that a shadow or a big amount of breeze? Tough to tell for us.
You know, Tucker, the top right hand looking upwind, there does appear to be more breeze coming, and I think that's what Southern is hoping for, but it just looks across the course right now to be breeze is a bit down. But I have to say, and I would like to point this out, my friends on the Hoth boat are doing quite well this race.
Yeah.
So Tucker, you could take your words back.
Were you on board with them today?
No, I was on board with them yesterday.
I'll keep my words then.
Darren Wright and his son, that's a family boat. He's just so thrilled to be able to sail with his brother and his son, who is the youngest competitor at 15 years old, Rocco.
Yeah.
And, it's just they're having an absolute blast, and I'm sure they're having a great time with their placement right now if they keep this up.
Katie, while everyone's kind of on the same board and stretching out here, and it's awesome imagery that we see with these puffs rolling down, you've really gotten to know a lot of the competitors, and we've really enjoyed kind of your inside track, kind of butting up with them, which gets us to know them a lot better and makes the regatta more fun to invest in these people. I've noticed, there aren't as many women as I'd hoped to see in this event. There's one female helmsperson, and there are, a lot of women stretched across the event, but it's usually like just 2 women on a boat or one. What's the vibe you get from the females in the fleet in terms of, having this awesome target to aim for this group of sailors around the world, but as far as women taking advantage of that opportunity?
I can't speak for every female sailor in the world, but I can bet that these female sailors, they're all super accomplished. We have some former Olympians out here. We have just really accomplished people, and I would suspect that after watching this event and seeing someone as young as Ilaria taking the helm, that we might see some great female sailors applying, and I hope we do. There should be more women out here. Not just a couple of crewmates. It's really the IC-37. It's an easy boat to sail. It's fun. It's fast. We could definitely have a great crew of an all-female crew. And you know what? If they need a small person, I'm the first one that's going to apply.
Okay, well, there we go. The challenge has been laid down by Katie, an all-female crew from one of the yacht clubs in 2 years' time. 44 of the 166 competitors, over a quarter of the fleet are female, and one of them, as you say, tactician, helmswoman, and Chris and I, as father of 5 daughters between the two of us, very keen to ensure that keeps going. And the Rolex Invitational and the New York Yacht Club have always made strides to push this forward in this wonderful Corinthian Yacht Club regatta. We're now with, look at that, Hanneman. Right there in top of screen.
J-boat.
J-boat, lovely. Thank you for
cool.
that. Give us a little bit of old America's Cup glory right there.
If that doesn't show you the history of sailing in Newport from the days of old and the America's Cups with the J-boats and then the 12 meters and now the IC-37s here, New York Yacht Club. Actually, this morning...
That's Kenny Reed just trying to get a little more screen time.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Okay, we're on the drone with the Royal Cork Yacht Club, who've actually slipped into second. They're looking in very good shape there. You can see the crew weight quite far forwards, light breeze indicated by the fact that the jib is down. We can look down the mast. That's and cool. How much backstay they've got on. Great trim on the spinnaker, looking in super shape.
Yep. Katie.
Yeah, no, just chiming in here about Royal Cork. I didn't have the chance of getting on board with.
Uh-oh.
The
Beautiful
Royal Cork
drone
Yacht Club
footage.
has been practicing on a K-31 that is very similar to an IC-37. So, I know we talked about the American teams having maybe a flight advantage of more time in the boat, but a Cape-31 is doing them justice, as you can see.
Yeah. Yeah. I also, while you guys were talking, I've been actually paying attention, which I know is rare. The breeze picked up in the center of the racetrack, and a lot of the trailing boats have compressed in the fleet, and Royal Cork sailed themselves right up into contention for the lead with that vein of breeze, Andy. And also, interestingly, so has Southern Yacht Club. When that breeze filled in the middle of the track from the back, Southern was one of the boats that got it first, and they've moved up to now 7th place. Remember, Chris, it's not over till it's over. Watch that golden spinnaker.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really think that's where it really starts to show, and it's the comeback. It's not the finding the first shift and leading that race. Just a real quick note that the first female skipper in the Invitational Cup was in the very first Invitational Cup in 2009, and that was New York Yacht Club member Marie Clark Crump, married to Will Crump, and sailed with him for the Royal Danish Yacht Club.
Yeah, she's a very accomplished match racer. I've raced her a few times in Marstrand, Sweden, back in the day, and her and her all-female crew conquered many and much. We're following right now with the leaders, the drone just aboard, with San Diego Yacht Club over Royal Cork just behind them, and then the Royal Canadian Yacht Club in third. And as you say, the Southern Yacht Club have managed to nip and tuck their way back into the top 10, into the single digits. Good work from Johnny Lovell and crew.
We sometimes see this in really light conditions, right? That when the breeze fills in, when it picks up downwind, it fills in from the back first, and it compresses the fleet. And we now see this big bunch of boats that have caught up from the back. It's going to make things interesting as we head to the finish. It's now a left-hand shift, Andy, as evidenced by just about every boat on starboard jibe.
Yeah, lovely pictures there. We can see the Royal Thames left of screen, and then it's Yacht Club Italiano, the Canadians, and then the Royal Cork. We've got the Swedish team on the right. Sandwiched with them inside is San Francisco Yacht Club, who are having a very nice race today. We haven't really talked much about them, but doing a handy job right there.
And we talk about them being a heavy air team from San Francisco, but they're doing just well in light air. Now, speaking of a team that's doing well, doing the best, not only in both races yesterday, but again in this race, there is no denying the performance of Tyler Sinks and his crew as they take a third win in a row in a regatta like this. That is impressive.
Yeah, well done, Tyler Sinks, and that, yeah, as you say, 3 in a row. Good work.
I do want to mention with the San Francisco Yacht Club, Sean Bennett, and in San Francisco, when you're on the West Coast, you have to really be a jack of all trades. You can't just start into one discipline. He's a match racer, and he's an excellent match racing champion. Excellent fleet racer.
Yes, what you said. No, I mean, 3 bullets you can't argue with. Second place, you can see there the Irish flag. Royal Cork, followed by Royal Canadian Yacht Club. Terry McLaughlin led most of the way around the track until this final run. But a third, nonetheless, will certainly help Royal Canadian score. Here's a close finish, Andy, behind them.
Yeah, and looking in the middle of the race course, Southern have just got a really light spot just there. Can they hold on? Because they've got 3 or 4 boats all around them, just to the left of screen, as those 2 boats there, Yacht Club Costa Smeralda and St. Francis Yacht Club finish, followed by Royal Swedish Yacht Club. Then we've got Itchner coming down on starboard. They're going to have a tight one with Hoth Yacht Club, who I think are going to be ahead, but Southern have had to jibe there, and it looks really light for Southern at the moment as Itchner push their bow down, and it looks like it's boat favoured. So I think Southern are going to be okay in 9th, and that puts them on 30. Oh, maybe.
Well, surprise! Who's that?
Is that
British Itchner.
Royal Thames. Royal Thames. Not quite going to get it.
Oh, that's close. I think you'd give it to Southern, maybe,
Yeah.
but I mean, Southern was almost in dead last. So to finish roughly, what is that? 9th place.
1 second it was
Still a
between
keeper.
Southern, who finished in 9th, and Royal Thames, who finished in 10th. Then the American Yacht Club, then Yacht Club Italiano, Yacht Club Argentino, and 14th.
American Yacht
Coming
Club.
down towards the
happened to them?
bottom
They were in the lead
is
for a long time.
New York, Norotan, Royal Bermuda, Nylandska Yacht Club and Eastern Yacht Club in 18th, and Royal Vancouver in 19th. Laura's just sharpening her pencil, and it looks like Royal Cork on 45, San Diego 47, and Southern with a lead of, 8 points.
Still.
No, the Southern lead has been trimmed from 13 down to 8 now, and Royal Cork and San Diego 8 and 9 points behind them. So it's going to be pretty close. The lead has been trimmed. Eastern, I think, now out of it with an 18th right there in that race.
But still an 8-point lead is, you'd rather have an 8-point lead going into the next race than less. And Southern Yacht Club, what amazes me is that wasn't their best race. Obviously, it was their second worst, but it was still a salvageable race to keep them in the lead. I call that still a very impressive race, Chris.
Right, and just like we were talking about, what wins regattas isn't necessarily the race wins. It's coming back from mistakes.
Coming from behind.
And if you look at those scores, I mean, poor our buddies on Norotan, They finished at where they were in that low point, right next to Southern, and look at where Southern finished. They finished with a keeper.
Well, we keep saying it basically like a cliche, never say never, we don't know till the end, and that was the case, proven again in this race. All credit to Southern Yacht Club, still in the lead of this regatta. We have 3 more races overall, 1 more race today, and it's coming up very shortly. So for Katie Nastro out on the water, Chris Muessler here in the studio, and Andy Green and I, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more action from the 2021 Rolex New York Yacht Club Invitational Cup here in Newport. The 2021 Rolex New York Yacht Club Invitational Cup is brought to you by title sponsor, Rolex. Regatta sponsors, Hammett's Hotel and Helly Hansen. Supplier, Team One Newport. And hosted by the New York Yacht Club. Hello and welcome back once again to the 2021 Rolex New York Yacht Club Invitational Cup. I'm Tucker Thompson along with Andy Green, Chris Muessler, the sailing journalist from New York Times. Great to have you back in the studio. And of course, we've got Katie Nastro out on the water. We're in the pre-start sequence for race number 10. Here we go. Let's get right into the action down on the water. Andy, I think we've only got about, 2.5 minutes left to the start.
Yeah, I don't think it's a lot. And just to update you on the results, I mean, remember yesterday, when we went into this, 44 points for San Diego, now just 47. They've only added 3 points in the last 3 races with 3 wins. They are on the up and up, but the leaderboard currently, Southern on 37, Royal Cork in second on 45. That's 8 points back. 10 points back San Diego, and then another 4 points back from there, Royal Thames. Those are our top 4 right now as we get in towards the start.
1 minute to go, and the fleet is well back behind the line. The breeze is very soft. That's going to make it challenging. In that last race, we saw some veins of pressure coming downwind, so there are opportunities, but there are also big holes. And Andy, it looks to me like the guys down at the pin are behind the rest of the fleet, or are the boats up at the boat end a bit too early? What do you think?
Yeah, at the boat end, very early indeed, and that will make it difficult. They're all jammed in. There's going to be at least 2 or 3 boats who are not going to make it in at that committee boat end as the countdown continues, and this is going to be fascinating. We're going to try to just have a look at the flags as we get towards the final countdown.
By my count, we've got probably 20 seconds left to the start now. Not all of those boats up at the top of your screen are going to make it into the start. There's such a big crowd at the weather end. We might see some over earlies.
Yeah, pin's the place to be for sure as the final countdown comes in. This is going to be very tight indeed, and it's 3, 2, 1, and bang, off they go for the start. Wowzers, that was a great start. Look how little line sag there was. And for those that know sailing, line sag, very common in these fleets, but nothing there at all. Some excellent sailing. And
all clear.
Great starting. All clear. Here we go.
Andy, third boat up from the pin, to my eye, got the best start. Who is that?
Third boat up from the pin. San Diego at the pin, and Royal Swedish Yacht Club just up from the pin, doing very nice. Itchner just getting sucked into.
Shoot out the back like a watermelon seed.
Yeah, that's right. No good. Bar of soap and a squeeze, not good at all.
And Chris, as you know from covering sailing, you don't want a boat on your breeze to windward, and you don't want a boat tight to leeward. It's not going to work either time, is it?
No, but that was that entire fleet on the weather side. And what made me, when I saw that group up there, even though the pin group got their bow out, and like San Diego was telling us, you know, their goal was to keep their bow free almost no matter what. But there was no room for anyone up at the top of that course. And we see how many boats are split off heading right.
Yeah,
almost half the fleet now.
Yeah, a couple of boats got pushed out. Hoth didn't make it into the start very well, and San Francisco Yacht Club just got away towards the right-hand side. Norotan got an excellent start, as did Royal Cork in the middle of the line. An excellent start from them. They've peeled off towards the right-hand side. And there's certainly a big split in the fleet. Where are Southern? They're just okay, duking it out in the middle of the fleet against New York Yacht Club.
All right, let's bring in the fourth member of our broadcast team, Katie Nastro, down on the water. You've got the best view of the upwind leg. The fleet is pretty spread out already. What do you see on the race course as far as which side's going to pay off?
Yeah, Tucker, we're seeing pretty much the same conditions as last race. The breeze is up a bit. We've got crews out on the rail, but like you're seeing on Track, it is definitely a split fleet. So I think teams are just looking to kind of get their clear air from the start, sail the shift. Breeze might go a little right. That's what the forecast had alluded to. But again, we have just started this final race for the day, and I am super curious to see how this pans out for San Diego and all of our friends on the left side of the course here.
Katie, I just have a question for you. That fleet split pretty quickly, and it was obvious that a lot of boats wanted to be up at that boat end. Looking at the race course, I mean, is it obvious right now that it looks like there's more breeze over there, or is it kind of a 50-50 call? I mean, maybe the boats on the left see something more that you have to look a little harder for.
Yeah, Chris, I would 100% agree with that last comment. It is definitely a split, and it's due to the fact that across the race course, we see this like band of pressure Maybe it's my eyes tricking me. Maybe I need to go to the optometrist. I don't know, but the fleet is split for a reason. Everybody is kind of seeing that same pressure build, but the boats on the left-hand side now they're running out of room. We have a tight race course, so all of them are now tacking over to the right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a tight tack there from boat 17. My word, that is extremely tricky. San Diego.
They made it across Itchner's bow. Katie, real quick, where is that band of pressure? Left, right, or center?
I personally would say it's to the left. We're kind of getting something in this westernmost corner right now. But again, it's a pressure game. You know, the boats on the far right side, it doesn't appear to be as much pressure, but there are crews sitting on the rail. So perhaps there is more pressure out that way. We're currently on the left-hand side of the course now. And
every boat is on port, including Royal Swedish. Andy, what's going on with the crew gear there?
They're just giving it the Viking power, and just on the windward side. Lovely to see that. It must be pretty tricky to get underneath the lifelines with those Viking horns, but just showing a little history there, a few thousand years. And if you thought that the British were colonials, well, the Vikings taught us how to do it. Anglo-Saxons and the Vikings are amazing history.
That's what I like about Andy, Chris.
Swedes.
You ask him a sailing question, and he will give you a history lesson around the world. And if he's right or wrong, you wouldn't know it.
Don't worry, everyone does their research. They text me pretty soon after if I've got it wrong.
San Diego.
Well, right or wrong in this fleet, it's obvious, from the start that the fleet split. Some people were valuing the right and some people were valuing the left. Right now, the left is obviously winning and everybody's on port. But I have to think that the people on the right side of the course, that pack that really wanted that right side so badly, are in the long game right now.
Had to see something.
Eastern Yacht Club just to leeward of San Diego. Now, in the last race, Eastern Yacht Club dead last. They changed their spinnaker out. Sounds like they had a tear in their chute, so they've got a replacement. Billy Lim won't be happy about that because that's pretty much taken them out of contention with that 18th in the last race.
Yep, no throwouts.
Remember, Southern, Royal Cork, San Diego, Royal Thames. Those are the 4 boats with 3 races to go. This is the third. This is we'll have 2 more races after this.
And those will be tomorrow. 2 races scheduled today. This will be the last race for this afternoon, and then 2 more tomorrow to determine the winner. And Chris, to your point, there are 2 very distinct packs. The boats that immediately tacked on the port off the line and went to the right, and the boats that split to the left now are all also, for the majority, on port. But statistically, this is a big left-hand windup. You've got to see it go back right at some point, right?
Yeah, I think so. In a normal, like an oscillating breeze like this is, but I think it's more, and Katie can tell us more, but it's probably more just pressure that's doing it along with the shifts and just accelerating that. The one thing I want to know from Tucker and Andy is looking at these points right now. I don't like to talk about that too much, but there's an awful lot of pressure on these teams. And I noticed that teams that have faltered, dropped in their positions today, are probably more conservative. And the teams that are on the rise are saying, I have a lot of confidence. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm going to keep pushing at the same level I'm pushing at right now. Can you give us an update on who's faltered and who's rising?
Well, be bold. That's really Tyler Sinks' mentality right now. San Diego decided that they were going to push the Royal Canadian Yacht Club off the pin. They wanted to win the pin, and they did a great job of it. And that has allowed them to take this left-hand shift and look really, really good in the left-hand side. But, as we said before, we are looking south now towards Newport and the Pell Bridge right there. And we're in between Gould Island, just in center of screen there, that's Aquidneck Island, Newport, Portsmouth, and Middletown on the left, and then on the right-hand side is Jamestown and Conanicut Island. But if that right-hand shift comes in much, then they're getting quite close to ley line, all those boats way out on the right-hand side. Yeah, starboard lay is going to be very busy. And remember, the tide is going with them, so they get to that ley line quite a lot quicker than you would if the tide was going against you.
Did you notice, Chris, that after history class ended a couple minutes ago, and now we're into geography, Newport, Rhode Island. But no, in all seriousness, back to your point, Chris, I think you noticed at this level, every team is so accomplished. You look at the resumes of all of these teams, and you look how close the fleet is here, and how the tiniest little mistakes can send you, can be very costly. I think all the teams have to be pushing it, particularly at this latter stage of the regatta. And it comes down to just tiny little things make the difference between first all the way down to double digits.
Yeah, well, look at the track right now with everyone on the same board. You know this is excellent racing. This isn't a huge shift.
Tidal advantage now on the right-hand side is my look.
Yep, and it's not a really big shift. So, but everyone's on it, and that's just like if you went the starboats. Used to be, and there still are in some ways, one of the pinnacles of keelboat racing. And when you would see the Bacardi Cup or even the Olympic Games, if there was a 2-degree shift, those boats were able to capitalize on that, and the whole fleet would tack at once. And those were all world champions, medalists, and that's what you're seeing here. It's not, no one's following each other. Everyone's doing the right thing. And if it's a 3-degree shift, everyone's on it as long as the breeze is the same. So that just shows the level of this fleet when everyone's on the same board.
Well, and Andy, I just want to counter that a little bit by giving credit to Southern Yacht Club, because every single team, 19 of them strong, is so talented. It's all the more impressive that a team like Southern can sail from a bad race into a keeper when they get behind.
Yeah, look at for bow 3 on their sail number, Southern. We're not seeing them right now. What we're seeing here is San Diego Yacht Club. They are over the Royal Thames, 10, and then 15 is the Royal Vancouver Yacht Club, a real boat speed race there. Trying to get as much out of the boat as possible, trying to squeeze it so that they are ready for the tack back onto starboard and the final approach to the windward mark.
I'm going to point something out about our friend Scott McLeod in Norotan Yacht Club. He is the rightmost boat upwind. In the last race downwind, he was the leftmost boat as we look upwind. So that tells me that he's being risky. He's trying to make big gains and just go all the way to the corners. Sometimes it works, and you look really good, and sometimes it doesn't work and you could look really rough, but we'll see what happens.
Well, one of the reasons for that is that they haven't done a lot of practice in these boats, so they feel like their boat handling is not tip-top, and that's why they go for a little more risk. Tucker, take it in.
Well, I just looked at track. Norotan Yacht Club is in first place, Andy, right now.
Wow. Well, as we get these boats start to get towards the right-hand side, we'll see whether Norotan and Southern Yacht Club have got enough to lead back from the starboard side. This is going to be fascinating. It just the smallest amount of left-hand shift and those guys will be buried. Just a couple of degrees of right-hand wind and they will start to look golden.
I'd like to talk a little bit about Royal Bermuda, because where are they right now?
Oh, they're having, I think they're having a pretty good one.
Yeah. I think that
things
are just moving around an awful lot.
Okay, there they are, top 10.
Yeah,
maybe
exactly.
11.
And that's, again, just like being a West Coaster in the United States, Bermuda it's an island unto itself, and to be able to produce a team that can compete at a really high level is really hard sometimes. They've had Olympians and world champions, but it's really great to see that island nation just kind of try and get into this and then consistently over time just work their way back up. It's a tiny country.
Andy, I think Katie was right. I mean, I have to give her credit. Chris really is bringing our game up, isn't he? It's great to hear your perspective. And Katie, I know you're listening in. What's going on out there? Let's get an update from you.
Yeah, the fleet is kind of condensing. These boats on the right-hand side, like the Norotan, are just kind of falling into now these boats on the left. And as you mentioned, Chris, this is, everybody is just doing the right thing. But in these types of conditions where the breeze has really been so up and down, getting your head out and looking for those few degrees shifts are really going to make or break somebody's race. And just a point on the Royal Bermudians, they've got quite an accomplished group of sailors, and they've got a family on board. James and Alexandra McDonald. James is driving, as well as ex-commodores and honorary secretaries. So, again, amateur event, but not amateur people in any respect.
Well said, Katie. And also, she brings up a good point. There are so many families competing, and that's great for our sport. There's brothers and sisters and fathers and sons, and It's great to see. You know, I look at my two kids. I'd love to sail on a boat like this with them. I don't think they'd kick Dad off quite quickly. I'm sure of that. But
well, that's the beauty of this event and these boats. I guess we'll go right to the racing, and then we can talk about that.
Here we go. The boats on the right. This was what we were talking about. Have those boats on the right got enough of that right-hand shift to be able to get back into the race and to take that advantage? As the boats came around Gould Island, there's just a little cone where there's a little less current, and that's where some of the boats in the middle did not favor out so much. Those hard left and hard right did a little bit better, but it looks like the breeze is just held in that left-hand side. So San Diego leading over American, Southern right back in it, but it's going to be very close when we get to this top mark.
Trends-wise, we're seeing about the same group of boats leading this fleet as they did the last race. The only difference between the last race and this race is the last race was a lot more dynamic in terms of the breeze pressure and the shifts.
This is one way.
And there doesn't seem like there are going to be a lot of passing lanes right now.
Eastern with a very tight duck there. We got New York Yacht Club also on port with Eastern here, bow 16, just ducking those boats. They're going to get just squeezed ahead of that big pack on the right-hand side that are attacking towards the ley line. Bow number 3 to leeward, Southern Yacht Club. So they've got to find their moment to tack and cross the fleet. This is going to be tough for Southern to get back in there, but at the moment they're taking all of the ups that they can towards that top mark. Maybe they can lay that top mark. No, I think they're going to have to tack.
This is very cool. Very cool to watch all this unfold in front of us. San Diego's just tacked on to starboard. They're on ley line. A couple boats inside here are going to have to tack and face that starboard tack train from the left, including number 3, who's already on board. Who's that? Southern looking
Crucial.
for now. Oh no, they had to tack underneath. Are they on ley lines? This could be a bit. This could spell trouble for Southern if they're not, Andy.
No, I think they're on ley line. I think they're okay. They tacked in a reasonable spot. I think they probably could have tacked and crossed if they wanted to. They don't want to, so they are on ley line. The leaders currently San Diego Yacht Club again.
And just a really quick note on Billy Lynn before we go up, get to this mark from Eastern Yacht Club. Billy just recently just kind of finished his Masters team racing career because he realized that the young kids coming up at Eastern Yacht Club are so much better than him, he'd rather crew for them. And now we have a little reversal here in the Invitational Cup. You have young Clinton Hayes doing tactics for him.
Royal Thames coming in towards Southern for sticking a lee bow tack on them. This is going to be close. And remember, Royal Thames got a double penalty last time, so is this going to be clear? Oh,
no, Royal Thames gave a double penalty to Southern Yacht Club in a lee bow in the very same situation yesterday. Oh no, that was Yacht Club Costa Smeralda, but either way, it was a lee bow situation like this. Now, by flagging, Southern Yacht Club had to spin. I guarantee you that because of watching the umpire's decision, Johnny Lovell has flagged that lee bow. Wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think this will be interesting as they come in. But essentially, Southern have done a really good job of getting themselves to this top mark in 3rd place. This is exactly what they need because they just need to keep the points deficit down between them, Royal Cork and San Diego.
And Chris, we spend so much time talking about how good every team is. And while we've been doing that, San Diego Yacht Club has been leading wire to wire, bullet, bullet, bullet. Now they are in 1st again. How do you do that in a fleet like this?
Well, going back to what we were saying before about it hurts to lose.
Jibe set. Jibe set from the leaders. Wow.
I thought it was a righty at the top. But look at the crowd. That is so awesome.
Yeah. And we know that practice really does make perfect. And I would have to guess that San Diego isn't just talent. They might have just put in more time than anyone else in this fleet, and it's starting to really show.
They might just be the only boat that Katie hasn't been with in the morning. That could do it too. Katie, hey, how exciting does this mark rounding look for you? I mean, you're live on the water, and everyone's jibe setting as well. Big righty?
No,
Tucker, I have to say, I keep mentioning it, but I really do have the best seat in the house. The fleet is so converged. It's such tight racing. Johnny Lovell, I think, it has a target on Tyler's back because they have really sailed themselves into a great position. They have their own lane, and they are just literally gaining speed as we make our way downwind. So this is going to be a nail-biter, I think, the whole time.
So you said Southern is gaining?
Yeah, Southern has their own breeze. They're all on the same jibe as San Diego, but they've just made gains. Is what I'm trying to say, and I really think that Johnny Lovell is just kind of sail his own race, but also just look for those pockets so he can just make up as much ground as he can to try to get to San Diego Yacht Club.
Yep, and Andy, you spoke with Johnny Lovell earlier this week. One of his biggest focuses, one of his biggest strengths is just keeping the pedal down and going as fast as humanly possible.
Yeah, all about boat speed. Now, this will be difficult because Southern Yacht Club have now jibed. Royal Thames are ahead of them. San Diego Yacht Club currently leading. There we go. That's Southern and Royal Thames ahead of Southern, and the leaders San Diego Yacht Club right there.
At the risk of talking too much about San Diego, there's one thing that anyone who's been sailing at a high level and won a championship, that a lot of times they'll tell you it feels pretty easy. You know, like everything, you just follow your process, and the difference between you and the teams behind you is that you followed your process and it worked. And I think that with the San Diego team, when you're just consistently at the end of a regatta just marching along like that, they're working really hard, but I'm pretty sure they haven't changed their process. And it's just really nice to see that they're rolling, that they're confident, and you know that's the extra special sauce. You know, that confidence that they have makes their their process work for them. And it's working really well right now.
I'll tell you what, I got a lot of confidence in their process too. It's impressive. I'd love to do an interview with them afterwards and just find out exactly what that special sauce is.
Maybe some will wear off on you.
Well, yeah. I mean, if I was racing, I'd rather have that crew. I'll tell you that. But I want to know. I'd love to actually ask them this, and I'm talking to Katie as well because she does our interviews, and you, I know you will. What was different between the first half of this regatta and now? I mean, you don't come out here and just rack up 4 bullets out of nowhere. You know, it's amazing.
Tucker, Tyler Sink's dad, Chuck Sinks, is here, and he has eyes on him. So Tyler has to perform or else.
Oh, that. Dad's here.
Nothing like a few overachieving parents to mess you up on the race course, that's for sure.
or set you straight in this case.
No, they're a solid crew. They have a great support system here out from San Diego. And you know, like Chris was saying before, you know, when you're dialed in, and it is easy. They have come out earlier in the month, or a few weeks ago, I rather say, just to practice and get the lay of the land, and that's really showing. You know, maybe it was jet lag the first few days, but it certainly has just worn off, and they're in it. They're in the groove.
Yeah. I agree with everything you said except one thing. With 9 nations represented, many of them flying from overseas, I don't think we could consider the West Coast jet lag compared to what a lot of these other teams are facing.
This is true. But hey, you know, West Coasters, they're on their own time.
I will. The last thing I'll say about San Diego is that one person that you guys have mentioned a little bit was Drew Freitas, and he's a world champion on his own, and pretty recently, and multiple world champion as a helmsman. So I'm really fascinated to see, you know, how much input he gives. And you know, Jake Liddell and Tyler Sinks are really young in the scheme of things. So I'm really interested to see the input that Drew. He must have an impact.
Certainly. Andy, I noticed you were keenly watching your countryman, former Royal Thames, were just very close, and they chose to jibe away from San Diego.
Yeah, they were actually making gains against San Diego Yacht Club there, who were a little bit slow. They were coming into the back of them, and I think they just decided to peel out to try and take the breeze. And there we can see Royal Thames have now jibed off. San Diego are with Southern Yacht Club, and just behind them is the American Yacht Club, I think.
They've got a nice vein of speed, Andy, to my eye. Royal Thames, I think, jibed themselves back into that vein of pressure that's been in the middle of the track. We've seen it before. Now Southern's going to do the same thing, as well as the team behind them, American Yacht Club. But San Diego continues. Could that be a possible error?
Possibly, maybe not. Who knows?
I'm not going to question
all sorts of action out on the
bullets.
racecourse. Brilliant drone shots here, looking down the spinnaker right there of San Diego Yacht Club as they head downwind.
You know this, Andy. Sometimes your strategy is dictated because every other boat is jibed inside, which will give you wind shadows. They've got to continue and clear their air.
Yeah, exactly.
Here
they
comes,
go for the jibe.
That is so cool. I'm going to get dizzy watching this.
Pushing the chute forwards, getting the chute filled, getting the mainsail filled, late main jibe, and then all the crew up on the windward side. Then once they've pumped the boat up, they go back into the middle of the boat to stabilize the angle.
How great is our drone pilot? I mean, that's like an IMAX. You know, I got dizzy there. Andy, I think the boats inside that have jived a little bit earlier might be making a gain here. Just looking at the weight coming off the back of the boats, particularly Southern, there, just hauling.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see from, you know, that last race, there was, you went from a castle to an outhouse like Norotan and Southern in that downwind leg in the last race. This is a little bit more subtle. Katie, do you see anything that's, that would change the placings in this, at least in the big picture?
Particularly to the left at all, upwind?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. Personally, I'm always seeing pressure coming from that left side, and I think, you know, off the start, that's really helpful. But I find it interesting that most have chosen to go towards that right side and kind of play that right-hand lane. So if I were anyone, I would try to do what Southern's doing and get out towards this kind of left-hand side where there appears to be more pressure.
Yeah, I'm looking at the wake off Southern, and it's one thing that we talked about just briefly in the previous days with Southern really going more, you know, parent wind sailing a little hotter angle, closer to the breeze, going a little faster. We can't forget that Johnny Lovell made most of his career in multi-hulls, in boats where you went higher and faster, covered more distance, but got to the mark faster. So I would have to say that might be John Lovell's superpower, besides his crew and his wife behind him. I think his other superpower is probably being able to know when to get the boat up on the step, like they say, get it up planing just a little bit quicker than everyone else.
You bring up a great point, Chris. We've mentioned Johnny Lovell a lot because he's the helmsman, right? But this is it's the full crew that is sailing so well to be 8 points in the lead and now currently sitting in top 3 again in this race. For Southern Yacht Club, they've just got an amazing program right through to the entire crew.
Yeah, and he's not trimming those sails. So that connection between on all these boats, that's why big boats and big teams fascinate me so much in sailing. It's one thing in ball sports, in basketball and soccer or football, but in sailing, you're sailing one thing, and everyone has to do all these little parts just right as if you were one person. And the teams that are doing that the best are the fastest through the water. And then the psychological part comes in when they have to decide which way to go.
Southern Yacht Club making a bid for the lead here. Mm-hmm. They want the big money. They want it. They want to close this out right now.
I think the placement of their jibe there, Andy, was a good spot.
Yeah, they did a very nice job there. If any of you are watching the tracker, you can see 3 boats bringing up the rear in 17, 18, and 19. Yacht Club Italiano, Yacht Club Argentina, and Nylandska Yacht Klubben. The 3 of those boats went inside the pink limit mark, and then they had to unwind themselves and go back, and so that's why those 3 boats substantially behind the rest of the fleet. Southern Yacht Club there with their golden spinnaker. Jamestown in the background, the famous home of the pirate or privateer Thomas Paine in the 1680s, and rumor has it that he buried some treasure in his garden before he went off privateering in Madagascar, and every so often the owners of that house find people in the garden digging up their garden looking for the treasure. Southern Yacht Club just half a boat length behind San Diego. Royal Thames breathing down their necks. American Yacht Club, San Francisco Yacht Club, Royal Swedish Yacht Club having a good day as well as Itchner. There we go, yeah, Royal Thames.
They look good from that angle.
Yeah, I think they're a little higher, though. That might suggest there's a bit of a shift coming towards them.
Well, then they could jibe. But, Chris, I just want to point out something fascinating. It's kind of like looking for an Easter egg. In every time we've covered the Resolute Cup or the Invitational Cup, here, Andy works the story of the pirate in without fail. And but it's become a game. You want to know, when's it coming? What day is the pirate story? And what he didn't tell you is, you know who's out there late at night, 3 a.m. with a headlamp on digging? It's him. He's the one looking for the treasure.
If anyone finds it, it's written in his diaries, and rumor has it it's still around there on the north.
That's why Andy moved here.
Yeah,
I'm going to make a prediction. I know Katie is great friends with all the San Diego guys. All credit to their 3 bullets. I've got some kind of feeling about that yellow spinnaker today. I think these guys are making a statement a fight for the front. Here comes a jibe. Where's San Diego?
They were in bad air there.
There's San Diego.
They're just protecting against the Royal Thames.
Ooh, as I say that, they jibed in a light spot. And, okay, there's a vein of breeze. Let's bring Katie in on this. There's a nice vein of breeze right behind San Diego. But I think Southern has jibed to get into it. Katie, what do you see breeze-wise, not only in the run, but predictions for the next beat?
Here, San Diego is holding their lead, but not by a lot. I think both of these boats are making their way to the gate, and they're going to split. Southern appears to be going around the leftmost gate when you're looking upwind, and San Diego is taking that right gate. So they've really flip-flopped.
Okay, so we see them setting up for the gate here. You might be a little ahead of us on the broadcast delay, but looking upwind, who do you think is going to have it right?
Tucker, I hate when you ask me these questions. I told you I'm not a betting woman.
You don't have to bet. You don't have to put any money on it, but let's just assume for a minute that you're the tactician. What I can see in this drone shot, Katie, the upper right is looking strong.
Tucker, I 100% agree, and I was kidding there. It really is going to be a name of the game with where's the pressure coming. I know I've talked about this pretty much all day. It's been up and down, and we're in kind of that down phase. So both of these boats, they're splitting. They're trying to work the shifts, but it also is just looking out, keeping your head out, and looking for where more of that pressure is coming from.
Hey, Katie, you want to put some money on the right?
I got to say, the right-hand mark looks substantially favoured as the boats go around it. I like that right-hand mark, and it gets you into clear air sooner, as long as you don't go too far to the right and get in the cone of less tide around Gould Island. I think that right-hand side looks substantially better, and there's a slight light spot at this left-hand mark. We watched American Yacht Club go round. There's just not nearly as much breeze and quite soft on the water just to windward as these boats come downwind.
I want to know, because Southern Yacht Club went around that left gate as we look upwind, are they going to tack and try and stay with San Diego?
They can't. There are too many boats behind them blanketing the breeze. Once you've chosen which mark you go around, you've got to sail for at least 3 or 4 minutes before you can get. But I like this right-hand mark much better than the left. I have often been proved wrong, but I like the right.
Big pack of boats, almost 6 boats deep. Here's the host. Regatta host New York Yacht Club going around the left mark. They've made up a great amount of points here on that downwind run. They were a bit farther behind, and now they're looking pretty good. Very good. Commodore Culver at the helm. There is Norotan Yacht Club. Looks like
they're all chicken winged up.
I was trying to come up with a polite way to say.
The kite on both sides of the jib, unfortunately. They got it in, hopefully it's out of the water. You know, when you come into these leeward marks in these big packs, no matter how well trained the crews are, you look at all this massive boats and you're kind of in awe of it, and it pauses you for a second.
Intimidating.
And a lot of times that pause is usually a delay in either giving the order to take the spinnaker down or actually doing all the steps to take the spinnaker down. And we know with these big asymmetrical kites, getting the tack of that sail under control is the most important thing in the universe at that moment.
No, absolutely correct. And that's a pretty good segue into the crews. We talk a lot about the skippers and the tacticians, mostly because those are the 2 names on our sheet.
Yep.
When we look at the teams here, but it's an entire team, right from the person pulling the chute down the hatch all the way back to the person driving the boat. It takes everybody. And you mentioned earlier in the broadcast about the choreography of a team on a keelboat like this is special to watch.
Right. Again, back to this whole thing that's actually really why I think this event is important is because it gives a really awesome target. It's probably one of the only targets for keelboat racing for just regular sailors to aim for. Now, I don't know if you can have a sailing club also to apply for this. I'm sure there are opportunities for that.
Sailing clubs.
Besides like a yacht
and
club.
Yacht clubs. You don't have to be a yacht club.
But
you can be a sailing club.
It's important because once you have that target, it gives you an opportunity to create your own pathway to get to it. You have something to aim for, and you reverse engineer your pathway to get to it. And part of that pathway is training. And part of your training is to be in better shape to sail a boat like this. And the whole package starts to come together. And I think it's a really special thing in sailing if you can get a boat full of 8 people or however many it is with multi-generational, multiple genders and from your area, and give people the opportunity to do it. You can't just do it with a bunch of 55-year-old men. You need a mix of people to do it well, and you need to commit to it. And I think you're starting to see that now with these teams. It's really beautiful to watch.
There's one more thing I'd like to see, and I hope the regatta organizers are watching this. I think they should, so we have 2 of the opposite gender on an 8 or 9-person team, as we're seeing here. I'd like to see perhaps a rule that requires 1 junior on each boat. Some like
absolutely.
Rocco, for example, 15 years old. What an experience.
Why not?
To race with his family, to come to the United States, to sail in a fleet like this. Be kind of cool.
And they get to get out of school.
Well, yeah. Well, okay, sorry, Mom and Dad. They get to get out of school, too.
They're modern-day pirates, Tucker.
He's waiting. He was waiting.
Okay.
Andy Green, back into the action here.
Southern Yacht Club on port, heading out towards the right-hand side of the race course. That is the Naval Station Newport, just behind, where they've actually got some large Coast Guard cutters now going to base themselves there for the next few years. And San Diego still leading over Southern and San Francisco. Yacht Club have done a nice job of nudging back into it. Royal Thames up there.
Now, I just want to point out, sorry to interrupt, Andy, that while we were talking back there, and we didn't get it in the shot, but there's a very important cross. From the right was San Diego Yacht Club, from the left Southern Yacht Club. San Diego tacked on top of Southern and forced Southern to do 2 tacks away, which is what you're seeing here. So San Diego still out in front and bossing Southern Yacht Club around a little bit.
The one thing that we realize with yacht clubs is that all of a sudden you have an event like this and you see people you haven't seen in years. And we have the Royal Vancouver Yacht Club in, what place are they in right now? In 6th place. And Nigel Cochran from Canada, he was their 470 rep for at least 2 Olympic Games. And, you know, someone that I looked up to being a North American 470 sailor. And, you know, what has Nigel been up to the last couple of years? I don't know, probably working a desk job and figuring things out up in British Columbia. And now here he is, he has something to aim for, and we get to see our old heroes come back into the boats again. So just give you a little history on Nigel and one of the Olympic heroes.
Yeah, he actually owns and runs an asbestos abatement company in Vancouver. If any of you have got some asbestos you want getting rid of, there we go.
Never-ending job.
Yeah, quite.
You just never know what you're going to learn.
Did not see that
That's why I love commentating with Andy.
Bow 18, Yacht Club Italiano, have a large tear in their chute, so that is not helping them on the downwind legs. But right here, we are going upwind. All the way out on the left-hand side, that's bow 11. That's Itchner Sailing Club, bang in the corner. Not sure it's doing them particularly well right here, but if they get a little left-hand shift, that'll get them back in the action here at the Rolex 2021 New York Yacht Club Invitational. Great sailing, wonderful to be here.
Katie, let's go back down to you. There's quite a big spread in the fleet now on this final beat from left to right. As boats are looking to, picking their strategy upwind. What are you seeing?
Yeah, Tucker, it appears that there is a little bit of a lefty coming in, so these boats have headed out towards the right-hand side of the course and are just appearing to make their way to that right-hand ley line. The breeze is down quite a bit, so again, heads out of the boat and just finding that pressure. I'd just like to note, off of Chris's last comment, there's a bunch of sailors out here that, they've won championships, medals, all of the above, but they do have regular day jobs, and some of them have really, really interesting hobbies outside of sailing. On board with the Finnish team, I chatted with Jonas Stromberg, who actually is a race car driver in his spare time. Absolutely incredible.
Cool.
He's showing me videos. I couldn't believe it.
That's different.
Awesome. That is excellent insight, Katie. Keep them coming as we have Itchner Sailing Club just in drone shot here. The skipper, Barry Sampson. The tactician, Tim Saxton, Robert Bailey, Richard William Dobson, Isabel Fitzgerald, Harvey Hillary, Neil Jones, Lisa McDonnell, and Henry Woods, the crew on Itchner Sailing Club.
Very good point there. And Laura Beigel, who's been giving us all this fantastic information every single day, I've got a request for her. Maybe we can, we have crew information on every single team, Chris. I'd love to see what does each of these people do for a living, because we're looking at some of the top level sailors in the world, just like we do in professional sailing, but they're not professional sailors. So 90% of their time is spent doing a real job. So Laura, I just said, we'd love to know what are the jobs for each of these teams, what do they do in their day job? Be kind of a neat thing to find out maybe for the next Invitational Cup. But one thing's for sure, whatever they do, they're certainly doing sailing pretty well.
They're definitely a bit of a little nudge of left-hand shift on here up the beat.
Like asbestos removal.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. All sorts of stuff.
One thing I wanted to talk about while we're in the middle of this beat is not just about people's careers and their background. Andy, I just noticed here that the tactician for Royal Cork is Ben Field. Is that the Ben Field we know from team racing?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So
previous world team racing champion,
exactly.
Ben Field.
So my question is that, I know Tyler Sinks from match racing and small keel boats, as that's evolved, where collegiate sailing now has their sloop champs in match racing. Team racing in our country and around the world, or at least between Europe and us, is in small keel boats now for after college and people with day jobs. So, that has to be the breeding ground, for people like Ben Field, who raced Fireflies and the Wilson Trophy.
Financial advisor he is, and money manager at a company in London. He was telling me he just switched jobs a few weeks ago, and this just gave him a little time off to come and do it. Left his 2 kids and wife at home. And, it's a varied all around. Ben also J80 world champion and J111 world champion. So he knows those J boats pretty well, and so doing a great job here in the IC37s. Mark Mills designed and conceived by Commodore David Elwell back in 2007-8 when he was Commodore. And he brought this whole vision to life of one design boats raced by Corinthian amateur sailors and managed by the New York Yacht Club, and they do a super job of it. We're very thankful, and this has now gone run, this event, and long may it continue.
Spectacular. Andy, tactical question for you, which I know is what you do on the mini boats you still race on. Southern Yacht Club, San Diego Yacht Club's close to starboard ley line, possibly on it. And Southern Yacht Club was converging with them, elected to tack a fair amount of distance to leeward.
I'm fine with that. I think that's a great, particularly when you have fair tide underneath you. It is much better to actually tack light of ley line, because if you get a little shift, you can actually take the tide up with you, and then everyone else who overstands the ley line has to put their bow down. You can then tack, cross if you're light of ley line, and then cross those boats and do the last little tack right at the top. So I really like the tactics on Southern Yacht Club right there, just to leeward of San Diego Yacht Club, keeping it real, keeping it tight. And it looks like the right-hand breeze has come in as they get towards the top mark.
But that layup underneath them gives them more options. They don't just have to follow San Diego in. And so if he gets a little bit of a left shift, then they can get a little piece of them.
And if they don't lose much.
They don't lose much, exactly. And that's just really smart racing. And right now, San Diego just wants to put their bow down and get forward on that boat to minimize that risk.
Right.
And I'm sure that's what they're saying.
Right. The helmsman, Johnny Greenland for Royal Thames, he's a business advisor, takes medium-sized companies and gets them funding, gets them onto the junior markets on the London Stock Exchange, also here in New York as well. So all sorts of varied jobs, race car drivers, asbestos, money managers, all sorts. We're going to give you a little more insight into that tomorrow morning when we talk to a few of them. And the rest of the crew on the Royal Cork Yacht Club, Anthony O'Leary, Ben Field, we talked about as tactician, Sophie Brown, Rebecca Coles, Cleda Connolly, Tom Murphy, Peter O'Leary, Robert O'Leary, and Clive O'Shea. Definitely Irish themes in those names.
I think we can learn a lot from these people, just how to manage career and your passions. I mean, those are some of the questions I want to ask these people, because they're doing what I haven't done yet, which is try to aim for a high sailing goal after I've already had a sailing career. Once I've had my normal career, and try to how to do both. That's a recipe I want to know.
Here's a good thing about this event. There are people that go into professional sailing. There are others, particularly young sailors, who out of college pursue the Olympic path. But what do you do next, right? If you're not a professional sailor or an Olympian, and you do sort of take what 99% of the rest of the world does, get family and a career, this Invitational Cup, as you said earlier, gives you something to strive for. This is their America's Cup. This is their Olympic gold medal. The winner will be the best yacht club team in the world. And that's something to really brag about. And that also brings up another point, Andy. All the fans from all over every the membership of every club that supports these teams. We've had 48 different clubs over the 7 iterations compete in this regatta, and it's not just the sailing team, it's the entire club they take with them.
Yeah, that's something that I'd love to be a part of, but it's a commitment. And I'd love to talk to more of these sailors to find out how they do it and see if there's a consistent model so we can all aim for that too.
Speaking of fans, Andy, have we got any comments? Feel free, if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, to comment, ask questions. The 3 of us here, 4 of us, including Katie, can try to answer your questions, and we want to hear from you as well.
Yeah, we've got, a few comments actually to your point about who sails these boats. There are a lot of youth sailors that sail these IC37s outside of this competition. We've really only one comment here from Rupert Ford, MD. He said, "I always love hearing the pirate story."
Yep.
There are plenty of other comments. Argentina and Roger Mello supporting bow number 7. He says, "Go Scott McLeod, the instigator of the World Match Racing Tour and a great friend and promoter of the sport, now based here in Newport."
Okay, Andy, here is, I feel like a broken record. San Diego Yacht Club, rounding the mark, top mark here for the last time, in first place over the rest of the fleet. Just behind them is Southern Yacht Club, Andy.
Yeah. Well, my question really is, it looks like a jibe set here. So do you see the spinnaker already curling around the bow? They're going to pull that sheet out as they go around, and Tyler Sink's just keeping it dead downwind before they...
Pause just for a second.
Oh, yeah.
And
Perfect.
And the fleet seems to be a little bit more spread out, so maybe Katie can talk to us. Maybe this is more of a boat speed beat.
Yeah, definitely, Chris. Exactly what I was just about to say. The fleet is definitely not as condensed as we'd seen it in previous legs. And, you know, the San Diego Yacht Club, as well as Southern, they really have boat lengths apart from the other boats that are just now rounding the top marks. And I think this run to the finish is just going to be about sailing those higher angles, keeping that speed. I know Southern's great at that, but I think for Tyler Sinks, it's just going to be about, you know, where is that golden spinnaker and how many boat lengths are we ahead of them?
Keep it behind you. Katie, another question for you. Almost every team seems to be, well, just about every one we've seen is jibe setting. Is there a big right-hand shift on the course, and will that skew things enough to reduce the passing lanes for the boats behind?
You know, I don't necessarily think it's a huge shift. I think these boats are just all kind of trying to get in as much breeze as possible, and that appears where the wind is, or most pressure is coming from now.
Okay, awesome info. Thank you, Katie. Once again, stand by. We've got one more leg left to the finish of this 10th race in the Invitational Cup, and it is, again, San Diego Yacht Club out in front. Everyone jibe setting, Andy.
I'm afraid bad news for the fans of the Royal Cork Yacht Club. Cork are in bad shape there at the moment in 16th. So from second overall with 45 points in 16th spot. So really it is looking like a bit of a battle between Southern and San Diego, and at the moment Southern in second spot. So there'll only be 1 point difference. That'll be 9 point split going into the last 2 races if it stays like this.
Andy, take a look at who is just ahead of Royal Cork Yacht Club in the standings down there in 15th. Royal Canadian.
Yeah, Royal Canadian.
Talk about a shuffle.
Yep. Well, it looks like Southern and San Diego really making it happen. Well, Royal Cork slipping down. They're going to be more like 61 points after this, and Southern will be on 39. San Diego 46.
Chris, look at this. Look at this overhead shot. There are 18 IC37s and 1 IC38.
Yeah.
In this regatta. I mean, look at San Diego.
There are not a lot of passing lanes, but the one thing, it's easy for us to talk about this shuffle and cringe for the teams that are getting hurt. I think we have to look at these events not just as an opportunity to put the time in, to be excellent, to be good at this, but we have to remember that this gives you the opportunities to swallow mistakes and go through that mental exercise and learn from it.
Andy and I do that every day.
It's the final leg down towards the finish, the largest split we've seen between all of the boats, to be honest, and that's because those bottom 3 boats didn't get around the spreader mark at the top properly.
offset, sorry. No, limit mark.
The limit mark, thank you. And breeze is down a little bit, now more like 8 to 10 knots of breeze. So things are developing as we go down towards the bottom mark, but it looks like most of the boats heading towards this right-hand side, line astern, all on port. 110 meter or so lead between San Diego Yacht Club and Southern Yacht Club, but just 1 point. And I know that San Diego will want to do something. But remember, Tucker, as we get into the final throes of this, 2 more races tomorrow, we will see clubs like San Diego and Royal Thames really start to put the pinch on Southern Yacht Club, particularly at the start, and sometimes up the first beat. All it takes is 1 or 2 tacks and putting them in dirty air, bouncing Southern back, and that you can easily drop 4 or 5 points, no problem, and that'll even it all up tomorrow.
Yep, absolutely. We certainly hope you'll join us. Andy, we talked a lot about real jobs today, and I have some bad news. Unfortunately, Chris has reached his time limit and has to go back to work. Chris, I'm sorry you have to leave us so soon, but it's fantastic to have your perspective out here.
He's going to pick my kids up.
Exactly. Actually, true story. But anyway, thank you very much. This is really fantastic to watch. And I guess one of my main takeaways is if you've competed at a high level in sailing or just gotten the nice natural highs from the sport, sailing's hard to watch, but you have to meditate on this. And we have the great communications going on right now. We get to meet the sailors off the water, and these visuals are amazing. So this is a real great opportunity for us to get excited, feel those old kind of urges and passions from the past in our sport, and watch people just like us do it at a really, really high level. It's really impressive to watch, and it's great to see all the women and men just doing their best, and you guys are all doing a great job showing it to us all. So keep it up.
Chris, thank you so much. Great to have you with us. I can't wait to read the article.
Cheers.
Can you change some of the names? Just
to protect the innocent?
Protect the innocent, yes.
It's going to be about pirate treasure.
San Diego Yacht Club, a beautiful picture of them on the drone doing their late main jibe, and behind them, Southern Yacht Club doing the same thing as they head down towards the finishing line for this final downwind leg and final race of the day.
I just look at this boat, Andy. I don't know what to make of. It's one thing to let's look at the score line for San Diego early on in this series for San Diego Yacht Club. A 12th, a 4th, a 5th, a 6th, a 12th, a 5th. Okay, so they're averaging around 6 somewhere, and all of a sudden, first. What kind of cereal do you think they've changed for breakfast? It's incredible the change they've made.
Well, if I remember back when the Royal Canadian Yacht Club won some years ago, I'm going to have to go through my list here. 2013, Royal Canadian Yacht Club, they got 14.79, and then they got 1-1-1-1-1. So that is 5 wins in a row that got them to win by only 6 points. So that just gives you an idea of what you can do with a combination, a string of wins like that. The golden spinnaker of the Southern Yacht Club, their helmsman, Johnny Lovell, and his team of fantastic sailors. They are coming down towards the finishing line. And the Southern Yacht Club with Marcus Egan as the tactician. They switched from their winning team in 2017 when Marcus drove and Johnny was the tactician.
Yep.
And his brother Andrew Egan, Christian Gamble, Joseph Kubel, Dwight LeBlanc, Katie Lovell, Johnny's wife, Rick Merriman, and Mila Newman. I think Katie's the name of his sister as well, actually.
Yeah. Same birthday as me.
Yeah, there you go. So, the Golden Spinnaker, beautiful drone pictures as we close out this 10th race on day number 4 of the Rolex New York Yacht Club Invitational as they head down towards the finishing line, up towards the northern end of Narragansett Bay. Jamestown in the background, and as they pan left, the Newport Bridge and Aquidneck Island.
It's a great time to point out Lynn Lynch, our PRO, Principal Race Officer, and the entire volunteer race committee of the New York Yacht Club. I mean, they've been spot on with these races every single day, inshore and offshore. They do a fantastic job. Yeah. Andy, I'm looking to the far right in this overhead shot. I see a couple veins of funny little breeze. I don't know if it's too far off the track to even jibe and get to it. A few boats are that are in the back of the pack.
No, I don't think so. I think they're basically on their way down towards the finishing line, and it's 800 meters or so down towards the finish. San Diego, Southern, and Royal Thames rising to the top of this competitive 19-boat fleet.
Royal Thames had a couple rough races in the middle, but they've really clawed back to remain competitive in this regatta.
Yeah, that day 2 with an 8.89, I think I remember, was...
Yep, 8.99.
8.99, thank you. Wasn't their best day. It's got a bit wobbly because they started with a 2.21, which is an extremely good start.
They had a 2.21, then an 8.8, a 9.9, a second. I can't remember what they got in the last race today, but we can look that up.
The Resolute Cup 2018, when San Diego Yacht Club qualified, we had 28 yacht clubs in the Resolute Cup from the United States: Austin, Eastern, Storm Trysail, Larchmont, Coral Reef, San Francisco, Corinthians, Shelter Island, St. Francis, Bayview, Chicago, Cleveland, Sachem's Head, Seattle, Newport Harbor, Sandusky, Carolina, American, Fort Worth, Rush Creek, Houston, Indian Harbor, Nantucket. Oh my word, I'm not going to read that one. I'm sure I tried to. New Bedford, you can read that one, number 27.
Oh boy, you put me on the spot here. Let's see. I got it. That is the Cully-Ridgewalk Yacht Club.
Very good. I'm surprised you haven't given them America's Cup talk over there, Tucker.
I am too. Probably because I couldn't pronounce it.
There we go. Coming down towards the finish, San Diego leading over Southern.
Great shot.
Yeah, beautiful picture. Royal Canadian just to the right there with their maple leaf spinnaker just behind them, the Swedish Yacht Club. And
it's the story of the regatta right there. San Diego Yacht Club has found their groove.
Hoth doing very nicely.
Hoth Yacht
Eastern,
Club.
New York, Yacht Club Costa Smeralda, all coming down towards the finishing line.
Katie, is
I gave Hoth a pep talk today, and they might, I think they took my word for wisdom.
nice. What did you say to San Diego a few days ago? My goodness.
I said, "Go Eagles." That's the only thing to say.
I guess so. Impressive. Is this, to your perspective, I know you're down near the finish line, is it pretty much all but over? We got one more jibe in it?
Yeah, San Diego Yacht Club is jibing now onto port, and they're literally they're cruising into the finish, just making it, and they're just trying to stay ahead of Southern, so they're just really protecting now.
All right. There it is, the final jibe, as Katie said. So heading for home, San Diego Yacht Club. Tyler Sinks and crew, there is their closest competitor. Still your regatta leader, Andy. Southern Yacht Club with the gold spinnaker. As we wind down this 10th race here in the Invitational Cup, 12 scheduled this week. Look how the top two have legged out over the rest of the pack. Impressive. There's a couple outliers to the far left as we look upwind. Who's that? American Yacht Club and the San Francisco Yacht Club. They've had a few good fights in this regatta as well. This is a split, and just looking at the pressure on the water, I think San Diego Yacht Club has got the better of it, breeze-wise, as they actually are they jibing back here, Andy? What's going on? Yeah, one more. So they've done 2 jibes to get down to the finish line. I think Southern's just going to go all the way out and do 1.
There we go.
There it is.
Masterclass of boat handling right there with the little pump on the mainsail.
Beautiful.
Bring the boat upright, drawing on the spinnaker down towards the finishing line, just a few boat lengths.
Celebrations on board, well earned. San Diego Yacht Club has now racked up 4 victories in a row here in the Invitational Cup. Impressive. Just behind them, the golden spinnaker of Southern.
Being blown after San Diego finished across the finish line, rather. So much support out here for them. But there's so many spectators out here in general for this Invitational Cup. It's really quite impressive and quite a scene.
Yeah, that's a good point. You can support your club online, or you can come to Newport. It's not a bad place to have to travel to, Andy. You know that. Mm-hmm. Come out on the water. There's a plethora of spectator opportunities, spectator boats out there, and of course here at the New York Yacht Club's Harbor Court facility, the camaraderie onshore is just as much fun. So come join us for the next Invitational Cup in 2 years' time. If you're not a competitor, come support your team. Royal Thames, Andy, third place.
Very good. Well sailed. They're still in the hunt, Royal Thames. They'll be on 54. That's 15 points. That's maybe a little too much. But San Diego only 9 points behind Southern now. You can definitely do that in 2 races, no problem. And coming up behind them, San Francisco Yacht Club with the Stars and Stripes behind them. American Yacht Club, Royal Vancouver, Royal Swedish, Eastern. You can see Hoth Yacht Club.
And just an update on the scores, Andy. Royal Cork was in the way for San Diego to catch Southern in this regatta, and they are way back in the pack.
Yeah, not so good from Royal Cork, that race. Oh, very close finish here.
Who's that?
I think that's Vancouver. Oh, Vancouver. No, American taking it over Vancouver.
Wow.
And I think that was because the spinnaker it wasn't drawing properly on the Royal Vancouver Yacht Club boat. Royal Swedish next over the line, and then a little bit after that, it is a battle between Hoth and Eastern.
Hoth's got one more jibe in it, or a soak. Let's see what they choose.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
Full jibe.
No, they're not quite enough.
They had enough pace to do a wing on wing.
No, they needed to just pop the bow down there and try and soak all the way down to the finish. So
that's a fun shot. Look at that. Who's this coming in just behind bow number
Eastern taking
19.
over Hoth. That is New York Yacht Club, bow number 19.
All right, Chris Culver, the only sitting Commodore in the competition, just behind New York Yacht Club, Itchner Sailing Club. Andy, you're a member of both of those clubs, and behind them it's Yacht Club Costa Smeralda from Italy, then Royal Bermuda Yacht Club. There's Bermuda jibing to the finish.
And then it's Royal Canadian or Norotan, who are neck and neck, slightly boat favoured it looks like, and Norotan just putting their bow down. I'm not sure we're quite going to see that, but
close.
Very close indeed. Who's going to take that? I think it's going to be Canadian. Yep, over Norotan by just 1 second.
Wow.
And then next up for a tight finish,
Royal Cork.
Royal Cork.
That's going to be rough for them in the standings.
Yeah, I'm afraid so, yep. Yep.
All right, well.
And to close it out with the last 3, Yacht Club Argentino, Yacht Club Italiano, and Nylandska Yacht Klubben for the 19 places in this 10th race of the Rolex New York Yacht Club Invitational. Great sailing, what fun.
Spectacular racing. It's spectacular spectating as well, whether you're watching our coverage or you're out on the water watching it live yourself. One thing is for sure, San Diego Yacht Club, the past 4 races, including the 2 that we saw today, are proving unstoppable. But there's one boat in their way of victory, and that's Southern Yacht Club. Who's going to win tomorrow? We still don't know, but things are the racing is certainly keeping us guessing today. So you're going to have to join us as well here in Newport, Rhode Island for the conclusion of the 2021 Rolex New York Yacht Club Invitational Cup. I'll be right here. I know Andy Green will as well, and Katie Nastro out on the water. And great to have Chris Muessler here in the studio. Thank you, Chris, for joining us. I know we have a special guest, a surprise for tomorrow. Do you want to tease that?
11 o'clock, I believe. Yep. What do we got on for 11 o'clock tomorrow?
Start time.
We're going live on the broadcast. 11 o'clock start time. Yeah, very good. All things being considered, but make sure you keep tuned up on Facebook, YouTube. They will give you any changes, any APs, any delays if there are. But I think they're pretty keen to get racing going. Forecast looks okay. Might have a bit of Kenny Reed tomorrow. Not sure. Okay, we'll find out. We'll let you know tomorrow. You're going to have to join us to find out. And one last thing, we want to see you on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. Tell us which boat you want us to put an onboard camera, because the top 3 going into tomorrow will have 3 of our 4 onboard cameras. You get to choose the 4th one, so we want to hear from you. Once again, for Andy Green, I'm Tucker Thompson. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow for the conclusion of the 2021 Rolex New York Yacht Club Invitational Cup.
The 2021 Rolex New York Yacht Club Invitational Cup is brought to you by title sponsor, Rolex. Regatta sponsors, Hammett's Hotel and Helly Hansen. Supplier, Team 1 Newport. And hosted by the New York Yacht Club.